will have given birth to me!
Hello, and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Matt Cornah. Hello.
Oh, it's Matt!
Oh, wow. That was exciting. What happened to you there?
Well,
A small electric jolt.
Yeah, you're usually the shouty boy, and I thought I would shout back at you preemptively.
Yeah. Get a shout in before you get shouted at.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. And,
well, it means I don't have to do it.
Well, it also means I deserve it whenever it does happen from your end. So, but of course, it's a good time to be shouting if you are a Donkey Kong fan, because we are in the throes of this renewed Donkey Kong mania, if you will. And here on the Kongversation, that means we are continuing our Donkey Kong Bananza discussion. And we're heading down to Sublayer 200, or the Hilltop Layer world.
Woohoo!
Woo! Now, since...
Sorry.
Our last episode, I know, it was lovely. I am now somewhere around 42 hours into the game, and still nowhere near close to being done with it. Like, not even... I can't even smell the end at this point. I am luxuriating in Donkey Kong Bananza, Matt, and...
Yes. Can you share with the group what layer you are up to?
I mean, Sublayer 500.
Did you just say that? And it just didn't register with my brain.
No. I was like, should I say Sublayer 500? Should I reveal?
Oh, you've revealed that there are at least 500 layers.
Yeah, at least, yeah. So, and that's apparently not the end of the game. So people who don't know, they're going to be like, well, damn it. The game, it's ruined for me. The experience is completely shattered. Aside from that, spoiler, there will be no spoilers on this episode beyond Sublayer 200. So we are keeping to this format.
Yep.
Much to the chagrin of a large part of our audience who desperately want me to discuss the end of the game and none of this stuff in between.
Yes, I can see that, but can I tell you why I think your layer-by-layer approach is good, true, and correct?
Yes, because I need the validation desperately.
Well, okay, well, I will tell you. It is because I can't get enough of Donkey Kong-related content at the moment. Kong-tent. I eat it up everywhere I see it. Give me Donkey Kong stuff. Inject it into my face, please! I must have more Donkey Kong things. To be honest, I'm quite annoyed that I'm on this episode. No offense. Because it means I won't be able to listen back to it. Because I'm on it. So that basically means I'll miss an episode. It's very hard to be me.
You don't like hearing your own voice.
Yeah, and also I'm here at the moment, strictly speaking, so I can take some solace from that knowledge. But the point is, you... Hyle, by doing it this way, you're how can I put this? Scratching an itch for Donkey Kong sickos like me, who are invigorated by Bananza.
Yeah.
So bring it on, I say. I love, also, I don't know if you remember this, but one of your callers last week was under the misapprehension that you were going to be doing layer 100. Layer 101, layer 102, etc., as separate episodes. And a part of me almost wishes that you did do that.
Yeah. You know, I think the idealized version of me would definitely do that. The person who could.
Do you feel you've betrayed yourself?
Yeah. The version of Hyle from off of DK Vine that could rise to that occasion and be that disgusting in how just hyper focused and detailed I can get. But I have my limits, Matt. I am flesh and blood. I am held back by this crude form.
You bleed.
Yeah, I bleed. and I have to go to the bathroom, and you know how much I hate that.
Oh, really? It's my favorite room.
I absolutely detest the act of defecation, and it's part of the reason I have a complex about food. It's because one thing leads to the other, and I feel like I'm being punished for the sin of consumption.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm the opposite of you. I like my toilet time. Is this a good thing to talk about? I was sat in a certain special room the other day and a thought crossed my mind, which is, I think this Donkey Kong Bananza might be the first Donkey Kong game I've ever played whilst doing a poo.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's surprising.
You might want to put a trigger warning at the start of this episode.
No, I think we want people to be lured in unsuspecting because I think it's validating for a lot of people who might not openly discuss playing Donkey Kong games while they take a poo, and we need to normalize it.
Yeah. So I've dragged it into the gutter quite quickly, haven't I? I think I might have done a wee whilst playing Donkey Kong Land.
Every Kongversation co-host tends to have their preferred bodily function. Dustin is on
I like them all.
Dustin's on his cum phase right now, and people are worried about him. But Matt is a reliable pooer, and so that's why I like to alternate co-host and bring on someone for a particular episode. And for Matt Cornah, I was thinking Hilltop Layer because there's lots of running mud that vaguely resembles Mountains of Poo.
Mountain.
Yeah. I was thinking it. I know you were thinking it. I know lots of our audience was thinking it for the Hilltop Layer. But yeah, I'm taking my time with Donkey Kong Bananza, and I'm having a wonderful time of it. It's really is, I think, holding up. And it's obviously there's recency bias. Obviously, it's the first new standalone Donkey Kong game in 11 years. Obviously, it's the first new 3D Donkey Kong game since 1999. But it is exceeding all of my expectations. Nintendo EPD definitely rose to meet the moment, and so far is scratching that itch that I had. And so,
yes, it's fantastic.
It is. It is. It's people have been wondering, Hyle, where are you going to rank Donkey Kong Bananza on your fabled top 10 list of top 10 video games, which of course are all DKU. And it's going to be on there. It's going to be up there, in fact. Too soon to say, but as I said on the last episode I did with Mitchell, I feel like this is the most I have been engaged and I've had fun with a video game since, at least where it's this all-consuming thing in my brain, since the summer of 1998, since Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to get into ranking it at the moment. It feels too recent. I feel too involved. But it's definitely... I played through Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3 immediately before Bananza's release. And I'm here to tell you, as Donkey Kong games go, it's definitely up there. I mean, there is a problem, which is that Donkey Kong Country 2 is quite good. I mean, it would be quite difficult for that to be topped.
That is a problem. I really wish that game was worse. But I look at those games, and I reckon with the fact that the nostalgia will always probably place Donkey Kong Country 2 at the top of my list. There's no getting around nostalgia. But that being said, if I can detach myself from the emotions and the sentiment, I can look at Donkey Kong Bananza and say, wow, this is a damn good game. And this, for the most part, I think outpaces most other Donkey Kong games I've played as far as quality, as far as engagement, as far as telling a story. I think it's terrific. And I'm so jazzed about this. It's not remotely what I would have wanted. If you would have asked me a year ago,
No.
what do you want Nintendo EPD's Donkey Kong game to be? I would have never said, I want a game about smashing things as you journey through the hollow earth with young Pauline, whoever she may be. That wouldn't have been my pitch. I would have said, I want an amazing adventure in the jungle with Donkey and Diddy and Dixie, and I want Squitter the Spider, and this wouldn't have been my go-to, but this is one of those delightful occurrences where you don't know what you want, but then they give you what you need. I think there was a song about that from the late 60s.
By Mick Jagger.
That's right.
Known in Scotland.
Yeah. So, we're going to be discussing the Hilltop Layer on this episode of the Kongversation. Are you ready, Matt?
Yes, I think, all things considered, ready to go. Let's do it. Let's talk.
All things considered, good.
Yeah, I've considered all the things.
All right. Well, if you would like even more of me discussing Donkey Kong Bananza, I recently appeared on the Tokyo Game Life podcast for a spoiler-free discussion on the development history of Bananza and the surreal sensation of living in this moment of renewed Donkey Kong mania. And we also don't discuss poo or any other fluids throughout the course of our chat.
Yes, disappointing. Very disappointing. I listened to your appearance on Tokyo Game Life.
Yeah.
And it was nice to hear you. It's strange hearing you in a different context.
Yeah, where I, use my inside voice and I wear clothing.
It's like seeing one of your teachers from school at the supermarket or something. You're out of context. The brain doesn't compute.
Yeah, this is my little clubhouse, the Kongversation, and I'm just allowed to be as gross and depraved and as freakish as because I don't need to dress up my language because I don't need to explain myself here. It's basically just, I'm a deviant freak who loves the DKU and nothing really else as far as video games go. And people know
I
what
think you acquitted yourself quite well.
People know what they're getting.
You were thinking on your feet with some of the questions they threw at you.
Yeah. It was enjoyable, and it's always enjoyable too when I just show up for a podcast and I don't have to do or prepare anything. So it's
Can I tell you what I particularly liked about that appearance?
What?
Well, what I liked was how they announced you on social media as DK Vine, like that's your name.
Yeah.
Not Hyle Russell or even Hyle from DK Vine. Just DK Vine. I liked that.
It's nice to hide under that wall of anonymity. I can just recede into the shadows. I am not an actual person. I am just this blanket wall
entity
of safety that is DK
You're not a
Vine.
person, you're a concept.
Yes, yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
But yeah, worth listening to, listeners. Give it a crack. Why not? It's like this. But not as good.
It's like this, but with no poo chat. So check it out.
That's true. I guess, like I say, not as good.
If you would like to come to DK Vine and interact with other people who aren't me, think about joining the DK Vine forum. As I said, it is an exciting time to be a Donkey Kong fan. It is the most exciting time to be a Donkey Kong fan probably since the 1990s. And that's not me dismissing all of the wonderful Donkey Kong games we have gotten between the Rare Buyout and Bananza. But let's be honest, nothing has really made the sizable impact that Bananza has made. And also, the series has not been set up for success like it has up until now, where we've got a reliable in-house group of people who are going to be making Donkey Kong games through the various EPD teams. We've got Donkey Kong Country as a theme park. We've got a Donkey Kong movie in the works. Just lots of stuff happening for Donkey Kong in a way that, back in 2014, it'd be, oh, here's Tropical Freeze. Great game, but the media at large is dismissing it because it's not what they wanted. And also, we don't know when we're ever going to get another Donkey Kong game after this. So there was always this sense of just ephemeral, ooh, here's a new Donkey Kong game, and then what? And now we don't really have to worry about that as much. It's, here's a new Donkey Kong game, and we'll enjoy it, and then there'll be another Donkey Kong game, and another thing to talk about, and another thing to get excited about. So, join the DK
It's
Vine
nice that
forum.
it's been so well received as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Aside from the initial should have been 3D Mario kind of outrage.
Yeah, a lot of the positive comments are along the lines of, actually, it's quite good.
Yeah. So
You might not believe it.
And I knew once people actually played it and got into it, any of that hesitation towards what the broader video game fandoms expected, because most people would have expected a 3D Mario, because most people weren't in the fever swamps of the Donkey Kong community, knowing that an EPD Donkey Kong game had been in the works for quite some time. But, I knew once it got out there and people experienced it, people are just... they need to be shown the way. Most people don't know what they want. I didn't know I wanted this. I knew I wanted Donkey Kong, but I didn't know I wanted this type of Donkey Kong game, and now I love it. And so it's just one of those things where we've got to experience something before we fall in love with something, and people are falling in love with Bonanza, people are falling in love with the Donkey Kong series, and it's a great time to speculate and throw out theories and talk with fellow fans. So join the DK Vine forum, dkvine.com/forum. Finally, DK Vine is on Patreon. If you want to support independent Donkey Kong journalism that will never be silenced by the billionaire class, think about becoming a DK Vine patron at patreon.com.
Especially if you're a billionaire.
Well, if you are a billionaire and you are ethical enough to support independent Donkey Kong journalism, I will take your money. I will. I just want to be upfront about that. I'm not so proud that I wouldn't take a billionaire's money, especially if they wanted to give me...
Come on, Alan Sugar. Invest in DK Vine.
If they wanted to give me a living wage, a living income that I could just be a normal person off of, and I would take it gladly. But the great thing about becoming a DK Vine patron is our $5 and up a month patrons can listen to these episodes of the Kongversation live as we record them.
And they can make contributions in the live chat whilst we're recording the episode, such as Me Muppets, who has just posted 5 Dancing Mr. Pantses.
Yeah, that's Me Muppets.
5 Dancing Mr. Pantses.
That's Me Muppets thing, and we always love to see it.
Yeah, so if you do that, then you have to get his or her permission first.
Hello to S Monaco 14. Hello to March Rose. And March Rose says, as always, excited to be yelled at by Matt while working.
I've got no plans on shouting. I don't know what this is about. I don't know why you're stereotyping me.
Yeah, I know. It's like Matt would make a great boss because Matt yells at people while they work.
Yes, and I've got 20 hit points. I'm hit points for a boss.
Wordplay. Donkey Kong Bananza. Sublayer 200. Now,
yes.
When I was announcing this plan to break down the game by Sublayer, some people, even amongst our staff, even my kin, Matt, raised their eyebrow at this because they thought this was excessive. They thought this was self-indulgent.
Oh, it is excessive. Don't get me wrong. I just agree with it.
Well, yes, I know. We suffer from the same disease, you and I, Matt. We've always
All right.
been. I mean, we've been working together since the days of Donkey Kong Country Returns, so we know how each other think, and we think in similar fashion when it comes to whittling out contents. But I know Jeff in particular was like, Hyle, calm
Yes,
down.
he was scandalized by this.
Like, ice your tits, my dude, please. Because I think Jeff's concern too was some sublayers are smaller than the others. And like, for example, Sublayer 200, Hilltop Layer, it is a smaller world than Lagoon Layer because it's only consisting of one sublayer, Sublayer 200. There's no underlayer or a layer beneath that. There's no boss even. And when I was playing Hilltop Layer initially, I was thinking, will this deserve its own episode, or should I like merge it with another one? And by the end of it, I was like, no, absolutely, this is getting its own episode, because I think this is a lovely breather of a world.
Yes, and what other level is there in a Donkey Kong game in which you get introduced to an entire culture? Of which more later.
At least this overtly, yeah, because this world, I think, does a lot for the game's world building, and it also gives you a space to work on and get comfortable with your moves while also focusing on some aspects, some disciplines that you maybe didn't use in Lagoon Layer or Ingot Isle Cave-In, such as turf surfing or chunk jumping, which, oh my god, chunk jumping is so delightful. I love chunk jumping, Matt. I love saying it. I love doing it.
Yeah, it's fun to say, isn't it? It rhymes. It sure rhymes.
It doesn't really rhyme, but it flows. It pairs well.
It assonance.
It's like when you go to a nice restaurant and they give you a wine pairing that just complements your food. And of course, I hate food. And I'm like, this is just going to lead to bathroom time later. This is miserable. But some people really enjoy that. But what I enjoy in life is chunk jumping in Donkey Kong Bananza.
Yes, chunk jumping is almost as good as food. No, it's better than food.
Chunk jumping is better than food, and that could be a t-shirt idea right there. But what this world also does is it gives time to start to develop the relationship between Donkey Kong and the young Pauline. Because by this point in the game, we haven't spent much time with Pauline as Pauline. She's been Oddrock for most of the journey so far. So this really just kind of steps back from the frenzy and from the madness with Voidco and from really all of the problems that befall these layers. And it really just lets you, as Donkey Kong and Pauline, get to know each other, get to really start to understand the underground world and how it's going to work. And maybe most importantly of all, it introduces us to the Fractones.
With their amazing theme tune.
Yeah.
Kind of Wurlitzer music. It's sort of eerie.
Yeah,
That one.
You're good at carrying a tune while you whistle. This is how I do it.
Keep going. You're nearly there. That's the noise I make whilst playing Donkey Kong Bananza.
So the Fractones, for those who haven't been keeping up with Bonanza, who have maybe eschewed the whole hype cycle, the Fractones are, of course, anthropomorphic rock creatures that are typically, but not always, made of fractonium, a fictional substance that always regenerates itself like a beloved BBC sci-fi explorer adventurer.
Blake from Blake 7.
Exactly who I was thinking of.
I love the first encounter you have with the Fractone, because when you first arrive in the level, there's a little cute one who's running away from you.
Yeah.
And you have to catch up with it.
Yeah, which will become a thing later on. You know, ooh, chase the Fractone. The Fractone is trying to lead you somewhere. Where's the Fractone going? The Fractones serve multiple purposes and functions throughout the game. But, you know, they also are generally a material you can use as well. Like, you can take a chunk out of a Fractone, and the Fractone will just regrow that chunk. You can obliterate a Fractone, and they will just grow their body back. The Fractones, like I said, they're usually the bluish magenta fractonium substance. But that fractonium can also come in a variety of colors and shapes later on. It's really kind of a fun conceit for a character that's also a material in the game itself that can be used by Donkey Kong for various purposes. And Fractones can also be other materials as well, like you can get one made out of the concrete or stone or other things. Boom rock. You know, they can appear as different things throughout the game.
Who knows how they work? But the interesting thing, I think, about the Fractones is that it's not just you that's bewildered by their existence. They themselves are on a voyage of discovery.
Yeah.
They want to find out their own story.
Right. Yeah. Like, context is everything, because I remember, like, I was a little iffy on the Fractones. That initial Bonanza trailer where you see them and you're like, what am I looking at? And I know a lot of people in the community, the Donkey Kong community, that is, they were a little bit not so clear on the Fractones. Even Mitchell on the last episode said, you know, I don't know how I feel about the Fractones. And it's because the design on the surface seems a little bit simplistic, or I guess under the surface in the underground. It's a bit basic, right? They're just generally blue rocks, blue blobs. Yes. And actually playing the game, getting to know their kind, seeing how versatile Fractones can actually be, and as you alluded to, seeing that they themselves are on kind of a journey of discovering their origins. How did this come to be? I now think they are legitimately wonderful. I think they are one of the great additions to post-rare Donkey Kong lore.
And I particularly like their characterization. I like their chirpy attitude.
Yeah.
And also something that I didn't spot, but I was reading the good old reliable Mario Wiki entry on the Fractones, and what's pointed out on there is that they always speak using the royal we.
Yes, they always speak in the plural, and we can debate that a little bit, but they never use like singular like I or me. And it's a fascinating
It's a funny
choice.
little quirk. I might start doing that. Sorry, we might start doing that.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult to remember to do it, though. That's the problem.
Yeah. Like, Fractones, I'm glad we had a whole layer to get to know them a bit. And, I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say they are a reoccurring element throughout Bonanza. But whereas Lagoon Layer eschewed Fractones, and we had the Salvager monkeys, this is the focus of Hilltop Layer, is the Fractone. This is where their village is. This is where their civilization really started, or at least to their recollection. And, you know, you get there, and I do enjoy the bit where Pauline is initially bewildered over talking rocks before she remembers.
Thinks the Voidco is responsible for turning more people into rocks, doesn't she?
Yeah. Well, and that plays into fan theories, too, seeing the Fractones And then knowing Oddrock was actually this young iteration of Pauline. What the hell is happening there? And I like that Pauline has this moment where she's like, that's weird. Oh, wait, no, I was a rock like 20 minutes ago. And also, like, yeah, Voidco must have done this to you. And then they're like, no, we are just who we are. We have always been. I believe the actual dialogue is, we've looked like this since we formed. For Fractone folk, rocks the norm. Yeah,
they're just facts of life. They can't be destroyed. They can't be created. They just are.
Yes, and they always speak in sing-songy rhyme, or generally speaking, speak in sing-songy rhyme. They're a very musical folk. I mean, Fractone.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, I mean, it is, because even when you hit them, when you break a piece of them off, it creates a little chime.
Let's cut to the chase. I want one. Can I get one?
You want a little Fractone butler?
Well, it doesn't have to be a butler. Just a kind of someone to hang out with. I mean, I don't imagine they eat. You would love to be a Fractone. They don't eat, they don't poo, and they regenerate themselves.
I do think they eat or they can consume, but that's for another episode.
And then another episode about what they produce at the end of the digestive process. That would also be good.
It's just Fractonium all the way down. They just continually
But slightly different color.
Yeah. The great thing about Fractonium, or I don't know if this is the great thing, but it's the fascinating thing. So, of course, you have smashing stats, right? You can look at like what you've broken and how much in a particular layer, and if you cross a certain threshold, you get a very small gold bonus for that. And there's also a Bananium gem. You talk to a Fractone here, and it's like, how much have you smashed in this layer? Oh, you've crossed this threshold. Here's a Bananium gem. So, there's a reason to track all of this beyond just morbid curiosity. But Fractonium is one of the substances that gets tracked however much you smash. And you're like, well, I would very rarely have the opportunity to smash a Fractone. Why would I do that? Even if they can regenerate constantly, it seems needlessly cruel to just constantly run up to a Fractone.
But they don't seem to mind.
They don't seem to mind, but also you can, beyond just the game's destruction aspect, where you can tear apart the terrain in a layer in the game's voxel utilization, will remember what you have destroyed until you exit a layer or reset a layer. But you can also create with Fractonium. You can take a chunk of Fractonium and throw it, and it creates a mound of Fractonium. You throw Fractonium at that, the mound gets bigger. You can keep building a mountain of Fractonium that will just continually grow. And then you can break that apart, and it, both what you've torn off the Fractone and what you've then destroyed from your little Fractonium mountain will be tracked in your smashing stats.
Is it, what's his face? Fragmentone, who keeps track of all this. What's the in-universe explanation of this? Is this particular Fractone a bit of a nerd who likes to collect stats?
Yes, there is a character who keeps track of it. It's Smashatone.
Smashatone, there you go.
Smashatone. So, I think the next Smash Brothers game, obviously, it needs to be a playable character.
Needs to be. I mean, it can't be that taxing to the system, surely. Let's sort it out.
Yeah.
You talked about the terrain resetting itself on either the previous episode or possibly on that Tokyo Game Life episode.
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of Hyle Russell recently. I didn't realize that the terrain resets itself. And I'm like you. I enjoy nature. I go on walks through the English countryside, like the twee stereotype I am. So exactly like you, I wasn't wild about the idea of smashing things up, smashing up the pretty hills. So yeah, it's very interesting to see that it all resets itself. I just assumed that it was permanent.
Yeah, thankfully it's not. And also, I've speculated how does the terrain reset itself, and I was like, could this be like the elders do this? After thinking about it a little bit longer, playing the game a little bit more,
yes.
I think it could be the Fractones who reset the terrain, or at the very least help facilitate resetting the terrain, since they do seem to have...
It's probably the nerdy one that keeps tabs of all the stats.
Smash a tone. Yeah, they seem to have some sort of mastery over minerals and rocks and dirt, and they seem to be able to manipulate it. I mean, you throw a piece of soft terrain at a Fractone, it also, and this kind of gets into body horror a little bit, it will then assimilate into their body. So not only can you tear off chunks, but you can throw soft chunks at a Fractone, and then that becomes part of their body. So you can deform them. You can make them into these ghastly monstrosities, to the point where I'm feeling like I get grossed out by defecation, Matt. So like body horror is something I don't feel comfortable with. So doing this to a Fractone, I'm then like, no, I'm sorry. And then I have to like break them down completely so they can reform themselves into their preferred shape.
Well, that's good and correct, and I'm glad you do that.
It is wild though how the game's tech and this voxel technology can just do so much, and it's another thing where I'm glad they kept it for a Switch 2 launch title, or ostensibly a launch title, because I think the upshot to this game coming out on the Switch 2 is it's so much more impressive than it would have been able to be on the original Switch.
I'm not a tech guy, I don't know, but I presume you're right about that. Yeah, it doesn't seem like anything I've seen on the original hardware.
Well, and we did see a small kind of low-res screenshot of Bananza on the Switch 1, and it did just seem like a lot less visually interesting, so I think there'd have to be a lot of sacrifices made to get the voxels.
I've not seen very much, practically no slowdown on my end.
Yeah.
Playing the game. I've got quite far through it. I'm not showing off.
And this level in particular, this is where I really started noticing how gorgeous the terrain was, and the variations of it, and when you tear it off, how things glisten, and it just... It's the first time in a long time where I'm playing a Donkey Kong game and I'm going, whoa, that looks nice.
Well, I believe Mr. Mitchell Wolf touched on this in last week's episode. By the way, I would like to identify myself as one of the many people who found Mitchell's colour palette analysis fascinating. Because I hadn't clocked it. But once you notice it, it's one of those things that's hard to unsee. Yeah. For example, the cyan grass on this very layer. Cyan grass! Cyan grass! See, you've got me shouting again.
Cyan grass sounds like a obscure, like, 1968 garage band from...
Yes, okay.
From like London or something. They did they had
Cyan grass.
They had one single that kind of got radio play, like, during the whole psychedelic era. And then
but you can find some of their stuff on the compilation album
Nuggets. Yeah. I've got Nuggets. Of course I've got Nuggets, Matt. So...
Oh, these Cyan Grass guys they had so much potential. It's a shame they only had one popular song.
Yeah, but what a lovely song it was. It really spoke to the era.
One of those bands that their most famous song is the name of their band. So it's Cyan Grass by Cyan Grass.
But yeah, the colors are really striking, and it's one of those things where I don't think screenshots do it justice. It's just you have to fully immerse yourself in each layer.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
the fact that you're underground too, like what we're seeing is not actually the sky. And I'm not quite clear how this works in the underground world, but if you look up, just like when you looked up in Lagoon Layer and you could see the ocean pouring down, if you look up in this layer, you will see the
You can
hole.
see the sinkhole.
You will see the sinkhole that you fell through in the sky. And it's just like this crack in reality. And like the sky is kind of this yellowish green and cyan grass, and you've got like purplish mountains and hills in the distance. I think the implication
cyan,
is
magenta, and yellow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the implication too is that this layer does, like, all the layers extend beyond the area we're running around on. Like, if you could somehow get over there, there would be more to this world and layer. Which comes
I've been thinking about this. What do you reckon? Do you reckon these underground worlds are sort of like bubbles of space within the Earth, or do you reckon the entire Earth is hollow?
I think they're bubbles of space, because we do see when they're going through the sinkhole from one layer to another, like there is just crust and like, I think, I don't know the actual physics behind it, how gravity continues to work, and things like oxygen and, life-sustaining things that we take for granted. But I do think, like, I don't know how far around the Earth these layers extend. Like, I don't think, for example, Hilltop Layer would extend around the entire circumference of the planet. I think it's a pocket within the Earth's crust. But, it's interesting. It's fascinating. And what I love about it is that it seems like it could be, like the Fractonium itself, an infinitely renewable location where you could continually set things in the underground world in a pinch.
Yeah, and speaking of made-up elements, I think if you punch down far enough, you'll get to an element that you can't punch through called Neptunium.
Neptunium, yes. I was going to bring up Neptunium. I'm glad you did, because...
Thanks. That's what I'm here for.
This is
Neptunium content.
Like, I don't think I clocked the Neptunium that was in Lagoon Layer, but Hilltop Layer makes you take notice of the Neptunium. And it is the, like, material that a lot of the ruins are made out of, like the doorways you punch through, and then you go to this, like, bespoke area obstacle course that has 3 Banandium gems. There's one in this world in particular that we will be devoting a lot of chat to, but...
Oh, you reckon?
Oh, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. But, yeah... I like that there's just this mysterious element, Neptunium, and, like, it's got these glyphs on it. What's that all about? And a lot of stuff really starts to stoke the imagination here in the Hilltop Layer. And, I really fell in love hard with Bananza in this world. I think this is the kind of Hyle Russell breather that I love. I love, again, to luxuriate in a game. Yeah, tranquil. It's placid. It's kind of just serene. Yeah. What other words?
Synonyms now.
Yeah, I got my thesaurus here. Spa-like.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
What other ones are there? Peaceful. Peaceful's good.
Peaceful. Yeah. It's the kind of just. Taking a step back, the game goes easier on you. Not to say there aren't challenges here, but it's not so much of the life and death, we can't fish up our forks and spoons that Lagoon Layer
It's probably the first layer where you can more or less punch through absolutely everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without taking up your entire life.
It really got me comfortable with the destruction element of the game, where, as before, I was just kind of going easy on it. I wasn't... I was maybe a little bit afraid of punching too far and destroying too much. And I'm just like, is this the right way? Is this the right thing?
Well, speaking of that, I was wondering if you'd be interested in talking briefly about the camera and more specifically clipping.
Yes.
Because this is interesting to me. I think there's basically, it's a cardinal rule of 3D games, which is thou shalt not allow clipping, right? So with that in mind, I'm quite impressed with, and I think it takes a certain degree of self-confidence on the part of the development team for them to go, you know what? Not only are we going to allow clipping, we're going to make it a fundamental part of the way the camera works in the game. Mm-hmm. Because in Bananza, the camera goes straight into the ground as you bash through it, and what we see is, I suppose, a cross-section of the tunnel Donkey Kong is bashing. And usually developers go to great lengths to avoid that ever happening, although it almost always does. I just think it's fascinating the way Bananza, their team, has made peace with it and made a virtue of it.
Yeah.
Because it must go against every instinct they have as game creators.
Yeah, but that's the wonderful thing when you're skilled enough at what you do. Bending and breaking rules is an advantage. You should never be hindered by this is the correct way to do something, because that boxes you in. And this game in particular, I mean, it's so different from any other 3D platformer, if you will, that I've ever played. And it goes at it with such confidence. And the biggest drawback, the biggest thing holding me back, was my lack of confidence in what the game was allowing me to do and knowing it was okay. And it was in the Ingot. It was the Ingot Isle cave-in where I first really grappled with the camera, and it would feel claustrophobic. I was just like, oh, but the game forces you to feel that way when it actually caves in, and you have to break your way out. And that was really what told my brain, oh, okay, this is actually part of the game. I'm not actually breaking anything. I'm not.
Yes, because you've got a terrible phobia of boundary breaking.
I do.
Famously.
And that was one of the things I was kind of leery about with the premise of this game was, is my weird childhood phobia that still lingers with me, is that going to keep me from really enjoying this? Or am I going to be just on pins and needles the entire time, afraid that I'm going to just fall right through to the planet core with, not intending to do it. So it is I think a really clever build up to acclimating a player. And by the end of Hilltop Layer, I feel like if somebody's actually taken their time, maybe I'm biased here because of course I take more time than anybody, then they should feel comfortable with most of the mechanics of Donkey Kong Bananza, with how the camera operates, with what you can and cannot do. It should be relatively second nature by the end of it.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I've played through the game up to the end of the main story, but even I, at the point where I am, keep finding new ways of playing. Mm-hmm. I hadn't, for example, I didn't know you could create mutations out of the Fractone people.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's the best example, but, I'm thinking on what remains of my feet.
Yeah, you should try it. It's even great because if you break off pieces of Fractonium and build your own sculptures out of them, and then you go to the map, those will be represented on the map as terrain. It's kind of like I was trying to build a sculpture that said DK Vine, but my aim isn't that great. So it just looked
good
like
luck. I hope you're successful with that.
Yeah, my Fractonium penmanship isn't where it needs to be to take impressive screenshots yet. But
I mean, Fractones are a real problem, aren't they, to torturers? If you're a professional torturer. Yeah. It's very difficult to get information out of a Fractone that it is not comfortable with volunteering itself.
torture doesn't work because people will just say what you want them to say eventually to get the torture to stop. So, like,
Well, I apologize if there's any professional torturers listening to this episode. Hyle is being dismissive of your profession.
I think Fractones, the only reason they would break is they would get bored eventually because you're not really doing anything. I mean, maybe like breaking them apart, it's like scratching an itch, or it's like getting a nice shoulder rub. Maybe it feels good to them, so they're just like, oh yeah, keep doing that. Keep doing it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they like it.
Yeah. And I like them, so it all works out. Now, Fractone, we got the village here. We've got just like the basic little like circle of rocks. It actually reminds me a little bit of like Stonehenge and other like areas throughout like the UK where it's just like all these standing stone structures and rocks on hills and what have you. You would know more than I would, but
you don't pronounce the H in Stonehenge.
That's nonsense.
That's all I can tell you.
Why put the H in there then?
Yeah.
I see a word. I'm going to try to pronounce every syllable, every letter. Okay. All right. Well, here we've got several types of fractones, and I want to go through the list because I made a list.
Yes, please.
Okay.
First of all, please, thank you.
In the Fractone Village, I should point out, this is where you meet the Mama Elevator for the first time.
Yes.
The little elevators, of course, can take you from checkpoint to checkpoint within a layer, but the Mama Elevator, who you have to summon by a gong, is the only one who can actually take you from layer to like
a
layer
gong
to
that
layer.
You punch so hard that she hears it through the crust of the earth.
Yes, and so this is how you can get back up to Lagoon Layer at this point in the game, is you summon the Mama Elevator and she will take you. And then you get that nice...
So let me just run this by you, just to put it in the context of DK Vine character categorization. Mama Elevator is a character. The little elevators are drones.
Yes. There are multiple little elevators, but there is only one Mama.
Only one Mama.
But here's where you see that wonderful like cross section of the Earth with like Ingot Isle at the top, and then also off to the far right, you'll see Donkey Kong Islands, and it's got the head of Donkey Kong on it again. So I love just summoning the Mama Elevator just to see that, and then I'm like, actually no,
just to
never
see
mind.
Donkey Kong's quiff in silhouette.
Yes, and then I'm like, never mind, spit me back up, Mama. Anyway,
my only tiny sort of reservation with the elevators, I like them well enough, but I do think they're probably the most Mario-y thing in the game. I don't know what you think about that. I mean, I don't hate Mario. Far from it. Some of the Mario games are good, I've heard. But I do like my Donkey Kong games to be aesthetically distinct from Mario. And I don't think the elevators are so much. I mean, they wouldn't look out of place in like Mario 64. They're quite blocky. I think Mitchell touched on this in last week's episode.
yeah.
I'm not unhappy with them, but they don't quite fit with my model of a Donkey Kong game. That's a dumb criticism, though, isn't it?
Well,
But I've said it now.
here's why I'm okay with them. Like visually, yeah, maybe they don't look like they fit in as much as things like the Salvager monkeys or the Prospector monkeys
Yeah.
do, but I like them because they are functionally characters who serve a gameplay or a game function where it's not just here's the chute, here's a little pneumatic tube that will like launch you from layer to layer. It's we are going to use this character who swallows Donkey Kong and Pauline.
No, I agree with that. Although you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Should have been funky.
Which is should have been funky, but get Funky Kong involved.
Yeah,
Flights probably doesn't make any sense in the underground world.
Well,
it'd have to be something else, maybe something like the mole from off of Thunderbirds.
Yeah. I'm okay with this just because the underground world is supposed to be surreal and disorienting for Donkey Kong. It's not supposed to be terrain that the Kongs are familiar with, or at least our Kongs, like Donkey Kong Island Society. This is all supposed to be new, like, unexplored terrain, maybe only the domain of whispers and legends, and they wouldn't have facilities down here. And so having something that's unique to the underground world, like elevators, I think that works for me in my logic. It's not like Jungle Beat.
Yeah, I don't hate them.
Yeah. It's not like Jungle Beat where I had a problem that there were no like returning characters, because
I think the elevators are a great example of what you were talking about before, which is that it's not something you would have pitched, but that doesn't mean to say it's wrong.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
bad.
like seeing the elevators in the hype cycle, I was like, why couldn't they be an animal buddy? Why couldn't they be a character that we know? And then seeing them in execution, understanding the context of their role in the game, I'm like, that makes sense. And like Jungle Beat or any other Donkey Kong game where it just uses new things versus bringing back characters that would have served that function in the past, that's where I would have a problem. If it like this is just taking place on an island somewhere close by, why aren't familiar characters there? Well, this is something that is supposed to be strange and different and otherworldly or underworldly.
And let's not forget, we get some very enjoyable puns out of the deal.
Yeah, we do.
Elevator and teleport.
Teleport, yes.
Teleport. When you go to the map screen and select somewhere to teleport to, I'd forgotten that teleport was a pun. So when Pauline says,
"Shall
we teleport here?" I thought she had the weirdest accent. Should we teleport here? I can't really do the voice.
It's spot on. It's like I'm actually talking to her.
Yeah. I'm a genius.
I mean, don't sell yourself short. I think you actually improve upon their performance. Yeah. So we got a lot of puns, you're right. And that also extends to the Fractones. Some of them are not really puns. Some of them are just portmanteaus that are really belabored. But I want to go through the list of Fractones, all right? And
yes, please.
Most of these are, in DK Vine parlance, drones. Like, there are multiple iterations of this. Some of them might arguably be an individual character.
Yes, this is what I wanted to ask you about. Named individuals. Which ones of the Fractones do we think this applies to? Well, I'll let you say what you want to say, and I'll give you my thoughts.
Yeah, well, out of all of the, like, Fractone types, so far I'm only leaning towards necessarily one maybe being a reoccurring character. Maybe two, yes. Maybe Smash-a-Tone. But I'll go through the list. So here we are introduced to the wider breadth of shops, right? Now we had the style shop up in the Lagoon Layer, but that was run by a salvager monkey there. Now, this is apparently a chain like the Cappy stores in, or Crazy Cap stores in Odyssey. And it seems like it was founded by Fractones, and that is just their style shop up above in Lagoon Layer. But here, the style shop is run by Style Tones. And then we also have the stuff shop. It's where you can get replenishments of apple juice or balloons or melon juice, or even buy the fossil maps or Banandium maps that you would ordinarily find in Treasure Chest. And the stuff shop is run by Stufftones, naturally. And then we also have the chip exchange. And this is where you finally know the purpose of the damn Banandium chips that you've been collecting. You have no idea what they do since Ingot Isle. But here you learn you can actually exchange the Banandium chips for Banandium gems. And that is run by Chiptones.
It took me a long time to realize that the Banandium chips are cross-sections of banana shapes.
Yes, and also I think that the symbol for Banandium chips, it looks like the radiation symbol. So I think it's like also the energy symbol for Banandium.
I thought of everything.
Yeah, the power it generates. Because what is Donkey Kong doing in Ingot Isle when they discover the Banandium gems there? He's thinking, this could be a renewable resource for Donkey Kong Island, and we could fully propel our energy needs through the 21st century. Cranky's so hard on him. He's like, why did you go to the mines? Oh, Donkey Kong, I do all the work. And Donkey Kong was thinking, I need to ensure that Donkey Kong Island can have a nice green future long after you're dead, you bitter old coot.
It hadn't crossed my mind to exploit the Fractones as a renewable energy source, but now you've thought of it, let's do it. I definitely want one now.
Just the building materials alone. I mean, it seems quite fragile. It doesn't seem like it would be great for housing necessarily, although they do build nice getaways, I suppose, with Neptunium. So, yeah. Anyway, some of the other Fractones we meet throughout Hilltop Layer. Fragmentone. This is interesting. So Fragmentone is a Fractone that has been divided. There are 3 pieces of Fragmentone that are in the nearby area, and you have to find those pieces and lead them back to Fragmentone. There were Power Moon quests like this in Super Mario Odyssey, but this reminds me most, honestly, of the Torn Pages in Yooka-Laylee, where there seems to be some sort of split consciousness between the main chunk and the pieces, and you have to reunite
the little pieces are adorable, aren't they? The way they follow you around.
It took me a minute to understand what I was supposed to do, because I was trying to pick it up, and I just could not pick it up. And I was like, why are you intangible? And then it dawned on me.
I'm going to follow you now, Donkey Kong. You're my new daddy.
That's what they sound like.
You have to Pied Piper them back to the main Fragmentone. And that is really where the game utilizes, digging trenches or tunnels. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's making me use all of my abilities here.
Yes. What's the next Fractone?
So the next one I would like to discuss, Seekertones. Seekertones, these Fractones like to play hide and seek, and they enjoy disguising themselves as part of the surrounding landscape. And that often means you need to run around and look for things that are vaguely tube-shaped, vaguely in the shape of the standardized Fractone, but also if they're hiding as any other material, sometimes you'll have to use the traditional means of destroying that material. So
this is an opportunity to go on an absolute rampage, which I'm sure you've found yourself doing once or twice. Sometimes as the Kong transformation.
Yes, the Kong Bananza. This is really where that can come into play. If they are hiding with concrete, well, if you don't have any boom rock, the only thing to do is activate the Kong Bananza.
Kong it up. But even if there's no concrete involved, it's just a quicker way of destroying lots of stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm always looking for a quicker way of destroying lots of stuff. That's my catchphrase.
That is, yeah, you say it all the time to the point where I just roll my eyes now.
Sorry to have said it again.
It's okay. It's okay. You're allowed one per episode. It's just when you say it 3 or 4 times in a given podcast. We already mentioned Smash-A-Tone. Here's the Fractone I'm thinking could be an individual character, a unique, individual.
You said the word individual.
Yeah. Quiz Tone.
Yes, I think I agree with you. Without going into why.
Quiz Tone, like, without delving into later layers, Quiz Tone might be one of the few reoccurring Fractones from layer to layer. It could just be a class. I mean, Nintendo has pulled this before where you think, oh, that's a character, that's an individual character, and then they're like, no, like...
There's loads of them.
There's loads of Toads, there's loads of Yoshis, nothing special. We're gonna make it extra confusing. We've run into this a few times, like Professor Chops. It's just like, wait, there's multiple pigs with glasses, and then it's distinguished a little bit. No, Professor Chops is the one guy, and then there's Oinks, which are his fellow spectacle.
It drives me mad, especially with Yoshi, which is a really difficult one for me, because without going into it too much, if Yoshi's story is a sequel to Yoshi's Island, and Yoshi is an individual character, but a member of the species Yoshi, how is it that Yoshi is apparently born at the beginning of Yoshi's story? It gives me a headache. I don't like it, and fortunately, this isn't the Yoshi-versation.
Nintendo doesn't worry about...
Which is not a very clever pun.
Nintendo doesn't worry about Yoshi lore, Matt, and neither should you. Just have fun spitting
That's
eggs.
true, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I love Quiz Tone.
Yes.
I saw friend of the show, Daily Kong Johnson, on the Blue Skies, point out that the Quiz Tone's attire is slightly, ever so slightly, reminiscent of Swanky Kong's in Donkey Kong Country 3. His bow tie has the same pattern as Swanky's waistcoat.
A little bit, yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Had we seen Quiz Tone before the game came out, I'm sure there would have been theories that it was Swanky Kong transformed into a rock, and then people would be very bitter that Quiz Tone is apparently just Quiz Tone. But I like Quiz Tone, and I like that. I know Super Mario Odyssey did this with the Sphinx that would ask you trivia questions, but I like anything. This is the Banjo-Kazooie fan in me. I like, or again, Swanky Kong in Donkey Kong Country 2. Anything that rewards you for actually paying attention to the damn game.
Yes.
And
if that reward involves a character wearing a bow tie and a bowler hat, more the better.
Yeah. So I like that my devotion to playing the game really slow and soaking in all the details and obsessively taking screenshots of everything as I go along. I like that it's rewarded because Quiz Tone will ask me questions and I'm like, I know the answer to that because I am studying this game as if it were my final exam. So yeah, absolutely adore Quiz Tone. There are also Architectones, and these characters, they appear in a shape of a little house. This is where you
Yes.
get some fractonium that is different from the blue and magenta color. You get a little yellow roof on top of that. And
They do seem able to change the color of their fractonium components. Well, like Quiztone with his bow tie and bowler hat, aforementioned.
or like the style tones running the style shops. They're dressed like a pink and purple
Blue
t-shirt.
seems to be a choice.
Yeah. The chip tones are yellow, like Banandium chips, and the stuff tones are green. They look like green lemon lime candies, and they actually have a fractonium balloon in their hand and a little can of juice. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if it's really hard to change their color. Like it's like speaking of poo, when you're constipated and you really have to like strain to get to where you need to be. I don't know. Maybe it's really painful.
Well, if you listen quite closely when they are building the building the escape, you can hear them going. Do you think the architect tone is the same as the sort of butler bellhop character that looks after the getaway?
No.
Transformed.
No.
It's a different fella.
Yes, and we'll discuss those actually in another episode.
It's a fella.
Yeah. But the architectones, they run architectone real estate. And their motto is, "We sell plots in the oddest of spots." And this is where...
That's a good motto.
Yeah, this is where you can build a getaway and you can finally listen to the sort of gramophone that plays the vinyl disc that drop down from baddies when you defeat them.
Now, I have changed the music that plays in the getaways. I don't know if you've done the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jem from DK Vine staff has done this, changed it to the DK artist music, which is a medley of the Donkey Kong Country map screen tune with the Donkey Kong Country bonus tune, and it's just nice to hear a waft of that song every time you walk past a getaway.
The getaway, the stock standard getaway vinyl is a very abridged version of the DK rap.
Yeah.
Which
without the rap.
Without anything other than DK. Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all know the words. We both joined in.
It's I don't know if this is just like a version, if the vinyl is damaged, if it's just skipping repeatedly.
Yes, maybe that's the explanation. Yeah.
So you can't get to the verse about Lanky Kong or whatever, but yeah, it is like a fun thing to hear. But when I started accumulating other vinyls, I was like, okay, what else do we got? And yeah, DK Artist is one of my go-tos. I did change it to 2D Challenge Course number 1 eventually, and sometimes I put it back on the Boomtown Ingot Isle Cave-In music, which, as I mentioned on the episode I did with Dustin, reminds me of Blue Monday by New Order.
Yeah, how does it feel when you treat me like you do?
Yeah. So it just depends. I did go back to the Hilltop Layer song in later getaways, just because I was like, oh, that was nice and ethereal, but sometimes I need the comforts of home being Donkey Kong Island, and so I
Which Hilltop Layer song, the sort of general tune or the Fractone Village?
Yeah, the general one away from Fractone Village. Which now would be a good time to discuss the music of Hilltop Layer.
Oh, well, I'm enamored with the tune that plays in Fractone Village, even though it's about 2 bars worth of music.
Yeah, you mentioned it was like a carnival or something. It's very
like a broken Wurlitzer.
Yeah.
Like something that wouldn't be out of place in the middle of, for the benefit of Mr. Kite.
Yeah. I like it, but I really like the music of Hilltop Layer once you get out into the actual hills. It's very
sort of sweeping ambient synth sounds.
It's very ethereal sounding, and this is what I've noticed about Bananza.
Drop something. Carry on.
Okay, this is what I noticed about Bananza's music, because it's not just trying to be David Wise or Evelyn Novakovic. You do get specific callbacks and homages, music that is directly supposed to be reminiscent of some things. Like I mentioned, when you start the game, you've got music that's very close to Life in the Mines without being Life in the Mines. But of course, there are some remixes throughout the game, but it's not like doing the Donkey Kong Country Returns thing where it's just remixing most of its soundtrack and then throwing in a couple new tracks.
Yeah, there's the odd back reference, but by and large, it's original material. And that's what I prefer, I think.
Yeah, it's not afraid to do the minimalist thing that the first Donkey Kong Country game did. I think above all others, it was really like focused on synth and environmental kind of noises, and almost to the point where there was barely any discernible tune in some.
Yeah, lots of gaps of silence, but that works for me, I think. And again, it takes a bit of confidence to be happy to do that.
Yeah, I do think this is where the soundtrack differs from Mario, where it's not just like compared it to Super Mario Odyssey, which of course had a varied soundtrack, but I'm thinking like Steam Gardens, and it's like, why is that surf rock? Why is there surf rock in Steam Gardens? And like it was
we're all
fine.
thinking
it's catchy, got stuck in your head. But I like that this does do the Donkey Kong thing of almost letting the environment produce the music for you, or tricking your brain into thinking the environment is making the music for you. And yeah, it's quite lovely, I think, all around.
Yes, I like it. Music-wise, I have to say the music that plays in the next layer, which I won't say anything about, is probably my favourite tune of the game.
Interesting.
But stay tuned until next week to hear about that, listeners. But as it is, I'm very happy with. Oh,
now it's in my head.
I'm gonna stop now.
It's odd, isn't it? And it's almost unsettling, that music. Like
really eerie.
And that's what I like about this game, is it builds that sense of, I think it helps disorient you as the player, because Donkey Kong and Pauline are just going down deeper into this strange world. And at this point, Sublayer 200, of course, is nowhere near as deep as you go, but for them, this is the deepest they've ever been. And so this is starting to feel like they are effectively walking on an extraterrestrial planet.
Yeah.
The getaways, going back to that, away from just the actual music, it's also a nice covert way for the game to sneak in character development for Pauline, and developing that relationship she has with Donkey Kong. And
yes, because she's an insomniac.
she's a kid, and she's not beaten down by life yet, so she has trouble sleeping. Whereas I can take a nap just
Yes.
Without...
So this is where I've become quite enamored with how excitable she is. It's she's sort of adorable.
Sort of.
I didn't think I would. I didn't think I would be that interested in her as a character, and it turns out she's charming.
Yes, and her relationship with Donkey Kong is also, I think, heartwarming in a way that, like I said, you wouldn't really be able to do any more with Diddy or Dixie, given just how established that is. This is effectively giving new players to the Donkey Kong series a surrogate, kind of an in. And that's what Pauline helps facilitate. But yeah, you go take a nap in the bed to replenish your energy. And beyond just an easy way to restore hearts, this also, every time you do this for the first time in a getaway, you will have dialogue from Pauline where Pauline can't sleep. And it's like, hey, DK, are you awake? And if you decide to say... instead of z, then it sounds like Donkey Kong's getting electrocuted, but that was Z's as in snore.
Oh.
Pauline will then launch into this excited rant or this worry or this recollection. And this is really where they start fleshing out Pauline. And we don't get much of it in this layer at this point, but this first time she just talks about the getaway. It's our getaway. Isn't it great? There's a big closet and we can listen to music too, just in case you didn't catch what it was all for. And then she says, and this bed is so comfy, which is good to know.
It doesn't look very comfy, I have to say.
Again,
it
not
looks
getting
like it's made out of metal.
It's made out of Neptunium, and without getting into it, you do build more getaways later on, and the more getaways you build in a particular layer, the bigger the upgrades come, including more comfortable beds. And
is she sleeping on top of Donkey Kong?
Yes.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's cute. I reckon he's quite comfy.
Yeah, I think, because I've been thinking about this quite a bit. The function of the getaways, how comfortable are the getaways for Donkey Kong? And I do think there's something in the metal that maybe stimulates or relaxes the muscles. And so, especially when you...
Yeah, some resonance.
A resonance, yeah. And especially when you upgrade the getaways or upgrade the beds and it kind of becomes curved and ergonomic, and it really helps stretch Donkey Kong out and just relaxes the spine and decompresses. And I think there's some all natural healing woo woo in there as well when you got the dangling crystals and
bit of healing woo woo.
Very
happy about that.
Yeah, RFK Jr. loves Donkey Kong Bananza. So
I didn't realize he was in the special thanks for this game. It's incredible what you can find out on this podcast, isn't it?
The thing I think about as far as the getaways go is there a bathroom? Is there a hidden bathroom through the wall or something? You press a panel and then there's a toilet inside of there, because I do worry about this. Where does Donkey Kong
ensuite?
Where does Donkey Kong play Donkey Kong Bananza when he's in Donkey Kong Bananza?
Right, exactly. He does eat a lot of... I presume the Banandium gems contain banana inside their Banandium outer shell. Is this... because he seems to be eating them when you collect them.
I think they are banana-flavored rocks that are maybe radioactive.
Is this the first Donkey Kong game since Donkey Kong Country not to feature any bananas?
So far, yeah, they're just Banandium. Yeah.
So far.
Now, the game often just calls them bananas, which I will never do because I have to, actually
It's
parse out.
important to be correct.
I need to be correct. I have to parse out the differences. I hate when people call them golden bananas. The back of the box calls them golden
It's a
bananas.
different thing.
These aren't golden bananas. Golden
Have you
bananas.
played Donkey Kong 64, you bloody morons?
Well, or Donkey Kong Country Returns, because Donkey Kong Country Returns introduces the prime golden banana that we are then left to assume that the smaller golden bananas, which of course we all remember when Donkey Kong first rediscovered the golden bananas, it was in Mario Party, right? That's the big treasure at the end of DK's jungle adventure, were the golden bananas, and then he built the golden banana horde. Those golden bananas are little totems built in the image of the prime golden banana in the golden temple. These are not anywhere related to that lore. These are their own thing. They're bananium gems. Yes, Donkey Kong collects them and we hear, oh, banana. That is a callback. That is not a direct correlation.
Absolutely. The person who wrote the blurb on the back of the box should be fired into the sun!
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to just say fired. And I was going to be like,
I started with that, but halfway through saying it, I thought, no, let's ramp this up a bit.
Let's ramp this up a bit. Yeah, I was like, well, if they worked for Microsoft, they probably would have been laid off already.
Am I right?
Anyway, I'll have a whole lot more to say about the getaways in later episodes, because you better believe I've been chronicling all the dialogue from Pauline.
Yes, the listeners at home can't see this, but Hyle has provided extensive show notes for this episode, in which are screen grabs of various things, including the entire speech of Pauline.
Yeah.
Whilst Donkey Kong is attempting to sleep.
Yes. I
You
do
didn't
love...
read the last bit. Well, Roomy, good night.
Well, yeah. She's like, ooh, it's our own little hideout. It's so exciting. Just like a kid in a little clubhouse. And Donkey Kong's like, I own 3 tree houses. This is not a big deal. What?
You should never be blasé about tree houses.
I know. Like, you can't get that jaded, especially because, I mean, Donkey Kong, you're what? Like, a Gen Xer. Yes, of course you can have a home. There is no... Here in the United States, there is no middle class anymore. There are no homeowners. So I'm glad it worked out for you, Donkey Kong. And now you've got like dozens of getaways deep in the earth. Do
you think Donkey Kong is a homeowner? Is there a concept of property on Donkey Kong Island? I suppose perhaps there is.
To the extent where
or do you think he's got a mortgage on those tree houses?
He doesn't have a mortgage. I think he just had them built and then it's just done. And this is my home. This is my tree house. This is my other tree house. And that's my other tree house over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Matt.
I'm not a socialist collective.
a Kongmune, if you will.
Yes.
Yes. I'm not done talking about the Fractones. There's still more Fractones.
I know you're not.
The most interesting, and the one that really made me question, or start questioning, how absurd the Fractones were going to get, was the Blumentone.
Yes. Now, I don't know if Blumentone is unique to the Hilltop Layer or not, because the one in the Hilltop Layer is the only one I've encountered, but what I should have done is some research before saying anything.
Well,
seldom do I do so.
Blumentone is our first real taste of a very peculiar aspect of Fractones that I think makes them more interesting than their initial introduction to us what made apparent. And that is, they can take the shape of and even emulate other animal or plant species to the point where they even desire or crave some of what they're emulating's basic wants or needs. So in Blumentone's case, it's actually 2 entities. It's a flower pot with eyes and a flower with eyes, and the flower needs sunlight, but unfortunately Blumentone has set up shop right underneath a big stone pillar, and I'm like, well, that's on you, buddy.
It's a classic mindless idiot that asks for your help.
And we love them. I mean, that is an essential component of any 3D platform, and I'm glad that Donkey Kong Bonanza follows in that grand tradition of Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Tooie, and so on. Now, I found it interesting that Blumentone is seemingly made up of two entities, because as you mentioned, Fractones seem to speak of themselves in the plural, or at the very least use the royal we. So I don't think Fractones are necessarily a shared consciousness. And I mean, I'm not spoiled. I'm not through the game yet, so maybe that's a big revelation, is it's all one big organism. But it doesn't seem like they have a concept of the self in the traditional sense, to the point where Blumentone is two Fractones sharing a body.
Or one Fractone with 4 eyes.
Or that, yeah. I mean, how do they work? We don't know, but it's very, very interesting. And I didn't expect to be thinking about the Fractones to the extent that I have been while playing this game. It's not like other weirdo species that you encounter in the broader DKU, and you're like, oh, who are these rock people in Conker's Bad Fur Day? Well, they're rock people. You know,
what's going on with Blumentone, Hyle? What is happening there?
Well,
presumably they can move around, and presumably they can't photosynthesize anyway. So, are they just role playing as a flower?
I think that once they take a certain shape, it can then become like a biological imperative that they then start to develop some of the same needs as that shape. So if you think, I am a flower...
So it's not pretending.
Yeah, I am a flower, therefore I am. And so they suddenly need light and water. Even if it doesn't actually... even if it's not actually a biological need, it could become a psychological need.
Right. Well, I'm going to say it here, because it's about time someone did. Blumentone is a fucking idiot.
It's also possible that this Fractone took on the shape of a flower pot and then couldn't move. Like, it locked themselves in as this shape, and then it was like, oh shit, I didn't think this through. We actually aren't in a layer that has a night cycle, and the sun is never going to move because it's not a real sun.
Well, it's nice that Donkey Kong's able to help Blumentone out.
It is. It is. Donkey Kong helps
What
people
I'll say
out.
is I don't respect them.
Well, here's also the great thing about this game just dropping all of this on us, is we now have the luxury of doing future episodes. Character witness, Blumentone. We can, do bestiaries, Fractones, or bestiary Fractone, parentheses, flower pots.
An episode for each individual variant, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this. People were like, how did you do a Donkey Kong podcast for 13 seasons before a new game? And it's like, well, we had enough to talk about, and now we have enough to talk about. We can reach 50 seasons, no problem. Just from this game alone.
We don't need any more of Donkey Kong Bonanza than these first 2 lumps of layers.
Yeah, I could stop playing now, and I could just coast. I could just coast off these first 2 worlds.
I mean, it would be a weird thing to do.
It would be an extremely upsetting thing to do, but I just want everybody to know I'm fully capable of doing that. And honestly...
It's a hostage situation.
The intellectual challenge of it is almost enticing enough to make me want to stop playing right now. It's kind of fun.
Well, I'll enjoy whatever becomes of this conversation.
I love a creative challenge. I think creativity thrives when you put boundaries on it. So,
yeah, especially completely unnecessary ones that are annoying to everyone else that consumes your creativity.
yeah, I know everybody wants me to get to the end of the game, and I'm just like, but we could do 7 episodes on Bloomingtone now.
I like that it's expanded to 7.
I'm quickly thinking of ideas, Matt. It's exciting to me. Destination DKU under Bloomingtone's pillar.
Part 1.
Part 1, yeah. Oh, and finally, we have Constructones. And like the Architectones, they run a company, or they are part of a company, a conglomerate, called Constructone Development. Their motto is, we make or break whatever it takes. And these are construction, they are contractors, they serve different functions throughout the game. They are effectively cheap ways for the game to facilitate the building of or the removal of elements that Donkey Kong couldn't necessarily activate by himself. And
always invest in infrastructure. That's what I say.
Yes. Sometimes this is justified as, oh, you've got to pay this Constructone gold so that they can then have the funds for the material needed to build this thing. Or sometimes, as I feel like it was in this layer, it just comes off as they need a bribe. They need a kickback to actually do their job because they are planning on stretching it out for like 6 months. Like the stereotype.
Lazy Fractones.
Yeah, and like this is a stereotype, and I'm not saying all contractors are like this. There are some really extremely ethical contractors that will, maximize their time for your budget. But then there are also others out there who, they're like, this job, I could stretch this out for 6 months and continue to get paid if I don't try. If I just show up and sit around on the roof and have a sandwich and I get paid for it.
If you are a Fractone, if that is what you are, then time doesn't really mean very much because you live forever, really.
Yeah.
Barring accidents.
So I think the way I read this is, this job's going to take a few millennia. We've got to remove this big stone banana. And, you know what? Whatever. We're getting paid, whatever. And so Donkey Kong has to actually give them extra gold. And they're like, okay, we'll do it right now. And then they blow it up. But, they later on, it's more presented as, oh yeah, we need to build this barrel cannon, but we don't have the funds to actually do the job. And then Donkey Kong's like, here's some gold. And they're like, okay, we're going to build a barrel cannon.
Throw money at the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a shame that even in the underground world, everything is ruled by money and monetary necessity.
It is a shame, yes.
It is a shame.
It's
want to talk a little bit
cry from the socialist idyll of Donkey Kong Island, of course.
I know, and hopefully what Donkey Kong can do, traveling through the underground world, is show these people that life is meant to be lived. It's not meant for exploitation. And if we just take care of each other, we can have a happier existence.
Yeah, if that's the message of anything from the Donkey Kong series, I believe it to be that.
Well, I don't know if it is, because Donkey Kong does hoard bananas for himself.
He hoards bananas and he smashes a lot of things.
Yes, but the Fractones can just go behind him and reset everything. They're quite good at it. I want to talk a little bit, really quick, about the mud in Hilltop Layer.
Yes, please.
Because, yeah, there's quite a lot of mud, like on the far corner of it, and this is really Donkey Kong's first encounter with mud in the game, and I really enjoy how Donkey Kong gets grossed out by the mud.
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's
Yes.
in my top 5 Donkey Kong facial expressions.
Yeah, because if you just linger in the mud, Donkey Kong looks mortified. And we're probably never going to have a game where Donkey Kong wallows in poo terrain like Conquered has done. It's probably not in the cards at this point.
But the face he does when he's in the mud is the face you would do if you were in a big pile of poo.
It reminds me of Conker's Bad Fur Day, where Conker would have facial expressions depending on the context. And I was just like, you take a screenshot of this, you put a little sepia tone on it, it looks like Donkey Kong is just hanging out in some poo lands. And I appreciate that as a DKU purist.
Purist.
Purist, yeah.
Yeah.
Poo is
I'm
the
happy with
theme of
that.
this episode, surprisingly. We keep coming back to it.
Yeah. I can't say I'm not delighted.
Of course, there is clothing you can buy that makes traversing terrain like mud easier. I guess it increases the traction for Donkey Kong.
I've never gone in... as I mentioned, I've played through most of the game. At this point, I never really went in for using the costumes and clothing changes for the stats boosts because I'm too much of a purist. I like my Donkey Kong nude, apart from the tie. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I am interested in the costumes because... is that what we're calling them, costumes? That's what I'm going with. I see them as an opportunity to have Donkey Kong look like other Kongs. Because... at least in the original Donkey Kong Country games, that was sort of how new Kongs were made. I'm thinking mainly of Funky and Swanky, but to a lesser extent, maybe Wrinkly and Cranky. So it would be quite good if it were possible to make Donkey Kong look like the other Kongs in a similar vein to how you can deck Mario out in Wario's purple dungarees or whatever.
Mario can wear Diddy's clothes or a Diddy
that's
Kong
true, isn't it? Yeah,
suit.
I've seen the screenshots you've been taking of yourself playing Odyssey.
Yeah. But for the first part of the game, I was like, I don't want Donkey Kong to be wearing anything but what Donkey Kong wears. And as I progressed, I have started wearing different outfits. Because I like that it's Donkey Kong kind of acclimating to the underground world. And also, you can take a part of a layer with you into another layer. So it's like, oh, I'm really nostalgic for that layer. Yeah. I'm going to wear its fashions throughout this layer. And it benefits me in this particular stat boost. Here in the Hilltop Layer, I didn't give Donkey Kong britches, as this game calls trousers. But...
dungarees, I would go for.
Yes, but
it's fun to say.
They use britches as the nomenclature here, and I think it's fun to say. It's britches.
If there's one Kong that the britches remind me of, it's of course Redneck Kong.
Yes, we can make Donkey Kong finally look like Redneck Kong, sans the straw hat, but
on this layer, on the Hilltop Layer, there is one thing that we can use, which is the white fur dye, which is presumably mainly bleach and peroxide, which enables you to look like everyone's favourite Donkey Kong Country Returns character, Super Kong.
Super Kong, right. So, I haven't gone for any of the hair dye. I did have Donkey Kong wear the treasure tie from Lagoon Layer, just so I could find treasure chest easier. 30% increase in finding treasure chest, which if you're trying to get everything as you go, as I am, that is advantageous. But for the hair dyes, which because Hilltop Layer has a reduced amount of fossils, it is smaller, it isn't as involved, and so rather than having a rare and legendary fossil here, you only have the one type of fossil here. Yeah. It's just 30 ammonites in an alternate color.
Yes, not even an original fossil.
No, but you do get an original description for it, which I did appreciate. It says
Oh.
through cycles of evolution and extinction, it gave rise to over 10,000 species. So what did you do today? And I'm like, well, I played Donkey Kong Bonanza on the
Snarky.
toilet. I don't like when the game shames you into feeling bad about playing it and makes you feel bad about a long extinct creature. I don't know. Like, I'm used to Cranky admonishing me for playing games.
But when the game itself turns on you, that's a whole different matter.
Right, that's what we're all afraid of with AI. It just eventually turning on us, and what if my precious Donkey Kong games are the first to do it? Keeps me up at night, Matt.
I'm sorry about that, Hyle.
So, yeah, Ammonite, they're the extinct creatures that are found throughout Hilltop Layer, but a thriving creature that is not a Fractone that you will find in the Hilltop Layer as you dig, as you destroy. Moles. You have more ambient wildlife here. Or maybe they're
Moles, Sans,
shrews?
builder hats. Hard hats.
They're not... Maybe they're shrews. I don't know if they're supposed to be moles or shrews. I think they're moles. But they are
They look a bit moly.
What's that?
They look quite moly.
They look moly. To separate them from previous characters like the mole miners or Hard Hat, who might be a mole miner, they are made green. They kind of look like green water bugs a little bit. And as all the ambient wildlife throughout the underground world seems to share, they do have crystals or gems on them. In this case, it's their claws. They've got crystalline claws.
And they're adorable.
I always love when I get to a new layer trying to figure out what the wildlife is. And usually you will encounter it pretty quickly, but in some cases you have to go digging a little bit, literally in this case.
Yeah, it wasn't until quite a bit later that I started to notice them. Obviously, I won't say what, but yes, but it's been quite fun going back and seeing what little creatures are scurrying about the place.
It really does help make the worlds feel so much more alive than they would be if they just focused on...
Well, it puts me in mind of Donkey Kong Country 1 with the butterflies in Jungle Hijinks.
And the Game Boy Advance remakes, which they would kind of go overboard, adding little wildlife scurrying around.
Tiny rats on the ship decks in Donkey Kong Country 2. That sort of thing.
Anyway, some non-native wildlife that you encounter is Rambi. Rambi is on the hill behind Quiztone, and of course, Rambi's presence indicates that Cranky is nearby. But where is Cranky? Well, I saw him pretty early because I saw he was floating on this big... It looked like he was on a cloud. And I'm just like, how the hell am I going to reach Cranky? He's on a cloud. And eventually, you make your way over to him. And if you examine like the terrain, because you can get a read, you hold up a chunk of something, and then you got the little target, and it'll tell you what the surface is that you're targeting. Cranky is being buoyed on this platform by something called glue gum.
Right.
Gloo. Glue gum. And I didn't know what glue gum was. I still don't really know, but I was like, I can't reach him, but maybe I can bring him down to me. And this is just the beautiful trial and error of Donkey Kong Bonanza. So I threw a chunk of something at him, the glue gum.
And that weighed the thing down and he descended to the ground.
Yeah, and thankfully it didn't kill him, because what a sad way for this game to really get rolling if you killed Cranky Kong.
Yeah, there's just sort of silent credits in black and white. It's the end. I didn't... So, I didn't realize he could bring that little cloud down, so I used an ability. I used ways of getting there without bringing it down.
Interesting. Yeah, I brought him down to Earth. I just
you did it the way the game wants you to do, but that's the beauty of the game. You can do things in different ways.
Yep. And so, and Cranky's just completely nonplussed about falling to the Earth and creating this big crater. He's just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna start ranting at you. Like, look whose big hairy mug finally turned up. And this is when I realized, because this is the second time we talked with Cranky, or, if you go in chronological order and you actually talk to Cranky in each layer, this is when I realized he's basically going to say the same thing. This is... I
didn't realize Cranky was in in most... most worlds.
I don't think it's a spoiler to say he's in every layer. He
on eggshells, trying not to say anything that gives anything away.
Yeah,
but yeah,
he's
I didn't realize that he was.
He's the Captain Toad. If we're comparing to Super Mario Odyssey, he is the game's Captain Toad, and part of that game was where's Captain Toad hiding in each kingdom, and usually it was somewhere far removed. It was like, what the hell are you doing here, Captain Toad? You idiot! And Cranky.
It's about time that captaincy got stripped.
Yeah.
Stripped of his rank.
I mean, he's just shirking his duty. He's just hiding. He's a pretty poor leader. But with
I haven't
Cranky,
seen any of his lieutenants knocking about. I think he's lost his entire regiment.
Corporal Toad, Lieutenant Toad, Private Toad. Private Toad would be the one who would be hiding. He just wants to keep to himself. Just wants to stay in the bathroom playing Kong Bananza.
Well.
Anyway, Cranky, of course, is continuing to dig down through the underground world with his garden shovel. And Rambi. And,
Can I just say, Rambi looks adorable in this game as well. I think adorable is my go-to word at the moment.
Rambi looks terrific. I love the, pack saddle on him. I love that he's got greens for him to eat, the little shrubbery that's tied in a bundle above the lantern. Just so many great details, and it's also a great touch. I hadn't realized, why does he have this giant pack on him? It's so Donkey Kong can't ride him.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You can try to high-five Rambi. And of course, Rambi doesn't have arms, so he just kind of looks annoyed whenever you smack him.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
I also am so relieved we didn't get Posh Rambi. I was really worried we would get Rambi breaking out.
Donkey Kong, wonderful to see you in the Hilltop Layer after all this time. Remember our adventures back in Donkey Kong Country? Oh, that was a lovely time we had together, wasn't it? What?
Yeah, Rambi is just a rhino, and whether or not he could talk is kept ambiguous, which is how I prefer it. But Cranky, it does remind me of the Congo jungle, tips from Donkey Kong Country, where he just keeps saying the same thing, and
he can just chalk it up to his senility.
Yeah, that's been going on for 30 years now, but it does have some nuance. It does have some variations, and I did notice he does start to change things up at the very end of the rant, where he speaks. And okay, Matt, I am not spoiled, so keep your yap shut, because this is also spoiler-free beyond layer 200. But here's what I've noticed so far about Cranky in these two rants. He's being needlessly vague, okay? And it's this rant in particular where, we had seen his Lagoon rant in the pre-release materials. We had seen it the day 2 of Bonanza hype. We saw his dialogue in the Lagoon rant from people playing the demo. And so we had lots of debates about that Lagoon rant. Well, he's he's referring to a banana bandit, but he's not saying a character. He's not specifically saying Void Kong or Void Co. Their little character head icons aren't appearing. Could that mean anything? Could he be implying that he's actually after somebody completely different? And, you know, I was on the fence. I was on the fence about this. Where my brain is now is, yes, the game is playing a sleight of hand here because Cranky is referring to something that could obviously be Void Kong. But also, why is he being so
unnecessarily
avoiding?
vague?
Yeah, he's avoiding, no pun intended, actually coming out and saying what he's talking about. Like, he's saying, what am I talking about? Clean your ears. I'm chasing down the bandit behind all of the banana burglaries. What a rotten crook. I'll tell you what, no one should get away with dressing like he does. All flash and shine. Who does he think he's impressing down here?
Well, that could definitely be Void Kong, couldn't it?
It could be Void Kong.
Waistcoat and spangly bow tie.
Fabulous. It could also be referring to other characters, and I'm just Swanky Kong, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, something's up. This is where I started feeling, or I had started to feel pretty confident that the game was actually setting something up with Cranky, and anyway, Cranky does say when he's done, I'm pooped. And there's your poop reference.
Yeah, you see, it all comes together at the end.
Is that the first time a Kong has made a canonical reference to a piece of feces or fecal matter?
I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah. I'm glad it happened in the world with so much mud.
I'm very, very happy about it, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I do love, even if Cranky does get quite repetitive with his rants, with his dialogue, I'm glad that Cranky is in the game. I love that Rambi is there to tip you off. I think it really helps having him go on this parallel journey with Donkey Kong and Pauline. Although Cranky makes no reference to Pauline, which... Like, they completely sidestep. Like, Cranky's not
he considers her to be beneath him.
Well, obviously they don't want to get into it here. But I did find it interesting that Cranky's never like, what happened to that talking rock that was on your back? Who's this little girl? She seems familiar. What's happening? I have questions that can't be answered at this point in the game. So you know what? I'm actually not going to address any of this. It is what it is. And it's kind of that video gaming logic that you kind of have to roll with. Well, Cranky will just
I think he's just Cranky willfully being dismissive.
Yeah. Oh, you're now partnered with a little girl? Okay, whatever. Underground world, anything can happen.
It'd be funny if Cranky Kong said, in jungle hijinks, stick to the trees to get balloons.
I mean, honestly, I'm surprised they didn't do it, especially... with the final challenge course in this layer. It would have been apropos quite a bit. So you get down below, and there isn't Sublayer 201. This is just the interior Neptunium surface of interior chamber of Hilltop Layer.
Yeah, sorry. Stay tuned for next week when we'll be covering Layer 201.
Yeah. So this is where the game has its first 2D challenge course. So up until this point, the ruins, the triangular doors that you punch in, they facilitate these obstacle courses that usually involve Donkey Kong utilizing his various skills to get across certain gaps or terrain and find 3 Bananium gems, one at the halfway point, one at the end, and one that's cleverly hidden somewhere in the challenge course. This is the first 2D iteration of that. And this is where we have callbacks to classic Donkey Kong style gameplay.
Now, Hyle, talk me through what your feelings were when you saw the single caption, Nostalgia Country, but before you saw what it was going to be.
So obviously in the Bananza trailer, the reveal trailer on April 2nd, we had seen a little bit of this. We had seen those wonderful plasticky ACM style palm trees, and I knew it was coming. I didn't know when. I didn't know how long I would have to play. And I was honestly surprised it hadn't shown up yet. When I got into this challenge course and I saw Nostalgia Country, I was like, okay, it's time. Here we are. I'm so pumped. I'm so ready. Like, my hairs stood on end. And I was playing I was playing on the TV at this point. I wasn't in handheld mode. So I like set up with my Pro Controller in hand. And I was like, okay, here we go. And Donkey Kong and Pauline exit the triangular door. You're in a 2D jungle. It's very visually reminiscent of jungle hijinks from the original Donkey Kong Country. And I instantly relied on all of my muscle memory and my instincts as a Donkey Kong Country fanatic. And this is what I loved about Nostalgia Country. All of those instincts, all of those like ways to play Donkey Kong Country were actually rewarded.
Yes. So I suppose you must be talking about the urge to go back on yourself and see if there's any secrets.
Yes. The immediate desire to turn left and see if there's any. Now, if you immediately turn left, you'll just go right back through the door. So what you have to do is you have to
rather than into the Kong's banana horde.
Yeah. So what I did was, and maybe I can get a good jump and, like clear the door, but I chunk jumped over the door just to be sure. And I got over the door. I was able to climb the rock face.
Poetry, this.
What's that?
I said it's like poetry, this.
Yes. I climbed up the rock face, and sure enough, there was the exterior of Donkey Kong's treehouse, complete with a little hanging sign that says DK. And
it's great, isn't it?
Oh my God. I was just like, I can't believe the level of detail and thought put into this. And then, of course, I'm like, can I actually go through the door? And you can. And you're inside. You're inside a version of Donkey Kong's treehouse. I'll explain what I think this all means in a little bit, but it's not a faithful one-to-one recreation of the Donkey Kong Country treehouse, but it has enough bits and bobs.
Yeah, it's close enough. It's just great to see a kind of high definition rendition of what is basically an icon in our minds, I suppose.
You've got the little half tire in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
And instead of a balloon, there is a Bananium gem up there. But then the level of detail, all the little Easter eggs, all the things to soak in. I immediately looked for Donkey Kong's giant crusty sock. And sadly, nowhere to be seen.
Non-socks. Non-socks.
No socks, no masturbatory aids of any kind. Candy's portrait isn't there, and that disappointed me. But what is there is this new portrait of Donkey Kong, Cranky Kong, Diddy Kong, and Dixie Kong, all romping or playing in the jungle. I'm not quite clear what they're supposed to be doing with each other. It's like Diddy Kong is jumping in the air and Dixie Kong is sitting beneath him, like looking up at his ass. And Cranky is very upset by this while Donkey Kong is grinning.
Just a little slice of life.
Well, yeah.
Who took the picture?
It's a Kodak moment right there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a little stone sculpture, or maybe it's supposed to be a little plushy rendition of Rambi, or just a nondescript rhino. There is a minecart with red and yellow Bananium gem sculptures inside. There's a TV, bunny rabbit eared TV, and you also get a surprising amount of cookware.
Yes, so many spatulas.
Spatulas and tongs, and I'm like, is that a tiki tong reference? Probably not. They're probably just tongs.
Probably not.
There's also the beach ball. Beach ball makes an appearance. But yeah, it's really, really cool. It's just a really cool amount of detail, and an excessive amount of detail for what is this one-off 2D challenge course. Like, I know, like, yeah. It's
done
like,
with love.
The original Treehouse in Donkey Kong Country is just a one-off detail, but the fact that a lot of gamers will never see this, like, they will never get this Bananium Gem because they will never think to go up above the door and climb up to this secret
A lot of
tree.
gamers will never see it, but the ones that count will.
Yeah, and I really love that Donkey Kong Bananza rewards any Donkey Kong Country player thinking in terms of, I'm going to play this level like it's Donkey Kong Country. And they are rewarded instantly. And, I mean, I was just awash with emotion. I was grinning from ear to ear at this point. And I was sad to leave the treehouse because I was like, this is too good. I haven't felt like this in such a long time, but I guess I have to see the rest of the stage. And
yes, and this is an example of a locale that you don't particularly feel comfortable with wrecking.
No, because that's the thing. You are in 2D mode, but all the physics of Donkey Kong Bananza remain.
Yeah. I have to say, it feels unusual to be able to bash through the walls without the assistance of a rhinoceros.
Or a barrel. Or a TNT
or a
barrel.
for that matter. Yeah.
Or, yeah. It is odd, and it felt a little bit upsetting because, yeah, this is a facsimile of Donkey Kong's home, and you're just tearing down the wood paneling, and it's whatever. I mean, he's got other tree houses. No matter what this is, it's fine. But then you go out into the jungle, and this jungle that's made to look like the Congo jungle, this revered locale, and yeah, you're just tearing through the ground. You can blow things up with boom rocks. And it is a bit weird at first, but then you get into the barrel cannon blasting, and it all just comes back again, the muscle memory. And what I really loved was that just like the game rewarded you for going back, going left, and finding the treehouse, there are also standard conventions in Donkey Kong Country level design that hold true in this 2D challenge course, including like, oh, what if I, instead of blasting into the next barrel cannon, I go through this chance to like blast through terrain? I bet there's something down here. And there is. Like, every instinct you have is paid off, is rewarded. You've
been training all your life for this moment.
Yeah, you're never punished for playing this challenge course like it was a Donkey Kong Country stage, because that is how it intends you to play it as. And I thought that was great. Like, beyond just the visual homage, this is actually a Donkey Kong Country level with Donkey Kong Bananza physics.
Yeah, it works for me. I like it. And even little things like the signposts with the arrows indicating the end and the exit sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never knew I wanted to see that in HD, but it turns out I did, and I'm glad that I have.
I remember when Payon brought a couple of those elements back.
Yes.
And we lost our minds back in that, because it was just this...
It's funny what you end up being excited about, isn't it?
Yeah, we get excited about little signposts with a red arrow on it. But you know what? It matters. It's one of these things that it's just such a simple bit of iconography, and as Donkey Kong fans, it feels like we have been awash, like adrift for so long, where we'll see other series get celebrated in this very mundane way, and people laugh, they snicker when we get excited about stuff like this. But you have to understand, we haven't had this amount of fan service.
No. Even the way the trees in the far distance are sort of silhouetted into a kind of gradient.
Yeah.
It's exactly the way the multiple scrolling layers are displayed on the Donkey Kong Country jungle levels.
Yes.
It's exactly the same sort of gradient effect.
They actually utilized the same effects Rare utilized in 1994, and they probably didn't have to even do that,
No.
But, I mean, there are a couple things in here that are anachronisms that weren't actually true to the original Donkey Kong Country, like brambles, but
no,
I didn't mind them. I was like,
don't mind a bramble, famously.
Yeah.
It's one of the best Brothers Bear.
Or Bellamy, as you might have briefly known him as.
Perhaps, yes. Bellamy. Isn't he Bellamy in the manual, but Bramble in the game?
Yeah, Bellamy in the manual, based off of the television botanist, right, in the UK?
I don't know. The reference has gone over my head.
Yeah, and then they decided late enough to change it to Bramble, but not late enough to have that reflected in the manual, at least in the UK. Or maybe it was going to be a localized thing that they decided it was too much effort and it was only reflected in the manual. But yeah, Bellamy Bear was Bramble Bear's name in the UK, but only in the manual.
It's like Siegfried and Golem from Conker's Pocket Tales.
Although Siegfried is the canonical name of the golem, I don't want to hear otherwise.
Well, you won't hear otherwise from me.
No. Rest
assured. Anyway, we're wasting valuable material for our character witness.
Yeah, Siegfried. I loved Nostalgia Country. Now, it does raise the one question. What the hell is it?
It's a good question. Well, what the hell is any of the sort of bonus areas? I presume they are a different realm, a kind of pocket reality. I don't know what's your read on it.
Pocket reality could be a reading. I also could just buy that they are just elsewhere in the sublayer, just not connected to the main.
I only say that because you sort of travel through what looks like a portal.
Yes, I mean a portal would still be necessary to like make the jump across, those mountains in the distance that we were talking about. It's possible these are like floating near there, but I think it should be apparent the more thought you put into this and the more you observe, this probably isn't Donkey Kong Island. For one, that would completely negate the game's story and Pauline's journey to return to the surface, or Donkey Kong for that matter, if they can just take a shortcut through this ruin and, they're on Donkey Kong Island. Well, why would they go back then? Why would they go back through that door? It's like, okay, Pauline, go see Funky Kong. Funky Kong can hook you up. I'm going to maybe go back to go after Voidco, but you're safe now. There's probably no instantaneous warp to Donkey Kong Island or the Congo jungle. It's also quite apparent that there are underground world elements here that would not exist on Donkey Kong Island, like Banandium, like the Ingot Isle barrel cannons, like the Boom Rock, like the Voidco minions that are running around. It's like apparent they're still in the underground world. They're still somewhere adjacent to Hilltop Layer. This is not actually Donkey Kong Island. Well, what about the treehouse with the DK sign hanging on it? Well, I don't know. I think the read I got on it, and Matt, I want you to jump in and tell me how utterly inane I'm being, but the read I got on it was
I'll give you points out of 10 for inanity.
I think this ruin brings forth like it pulls things from Donkey Kong's subconsciousness. It creates this dreamlike setting for Donkey Kong where it's this familiar but still different environment. It's taking his vague recollections and memories of jungle hijinks and rearranging it, like taking his original treehouse and like configuring it in this mishmash of things that feel familiar but feel different at the same time. It's like how when you dream about something from your past and it's unspooled in the dream in a way that is not reflective of the actual reality and your actual memories. It's your brain concocting a new setting based on things you recall.
So it's in a semi-dream realm.
It's like a dreamlike state.
Concreteness to it.
Yeah. It's tangible.
I'm going to give that 3 inanity points because it wasn't that inane, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, I'm relieved because I thought you would just shout me down and say that I was
No, I think you need to be more inane.
Okay, well,
you need to work on it.
I will work harder for the next time we have to do this. But I think that this is whatever magic...
I think you have to be right. It can't be Donkey Kong Island. I think you're right about that. But it also doesn't make sense that Donkey Kong's treehouse is there if it isn't Donkey Kong's home. So, yeah, I'm happy with that as an explanation. Let's go with that one. Hooray!
The fact that the challenge, too, is called Nostalgia Country, maybe if somebody else walked through this door...
into Donkey Kong's own nostalgia for his home.
Yeah, maybe if somebody else walked through this door... Like, I think the read we can get on this is Donkey Kong is homesick. He's never going to admit it, but he is homesick at this point. And so if Cranky Kong were to walk through here, maybe it would be Girders. Or maybe it would be Wrinkly Save Cave. He misses when his wife was alive.
Oh.
And
took a turn for the morose.
Yeah. If it was Funky Kong walking through here, it would just be the best weed he ever smoked in his life. I don't know. But
what would your one be?
It would probably be exactly this.
Pretty same, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I'm pretty simple.
I got it bang on.
Yeah. Except maybe, I don't know, Paul McCartney would be there strumming a little.
Well, you don't
tune.
know that he isn't.
Could be.
You've not smashed every rock.
I have not. No, I was leery about smashing everything in this beautiful recreation of my childhood. So that's towards the end. That's like the big climatic finish of Hilltop Layer. There's no boss. There's nothing guarding the sinkhole this time around. However, there is one more thing down in this subterranean chamber.
Yeah.
There is this first reading stone that is titled Saga of the Exploratone, verse 1.
Yes, so this touches on what I was talking about earlier about how the Fractones are on their very own voyage of self-discovery.
Yep.
They're unraveling the mystery of their origins, as presumably so are we, which is exciting. Verse 1. Verse 1 of how many? Who knows? But
who knows?
Yeah, Exploratone.
Yeah. So
the Saber Man of the Fractones.
Yeah. Exploratone has left behind this travelogue, and in their fashion, they left it behind on these, like this reading stone. But this is not in the banana glyph that most of the reading stones are left in. This is in the other glyph that you find on the...
It looks almost like musical notes.
Yes, it's the Fractone language. I don't know at this point, but it says, verse 1, where did the Fractones come from? What is the origin of us? And us is capitalized. Curiosity.
So presumably he's referring to the Peter Gabriel album.
Presumably, yes, which is weird because usually Phil Collins is the Genesis frontman that is referenced in the DKU.
Yeah, of course.
In the
Just for
Donkey Kong
balance.
series. I know Peter Gabriel did shock the monkey, and monkeys have been electrocuted, but generally speaking, Phil Collins is.
I mean, bless you for running with this.
Yeah, this is why these go for 4 hours, is because I pick up these threads that nobody cares about. The people tuning into this care about Donkey Kong chat. They don't care about Genesis jokes.
I won't bother talking about the Bloom Tone and the Flower Peter Gabriel outfits then.
I mean, Nostalgic Country was a land of confusion, so
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, us is capitalized, which I appreciated. And then it continues, curiosity consumes us, but that us wasn't capitalized. After much research, we think we know where we will find our answers. Into the depths, deeper than we can imagine, we shall find the origin of us. And this is where it really crystallized for me, Matt. Like, between Cranky Kong being unnecessarily vague about everything, and between the Exploratone, I was like, hey, Kotaku, this game has lore. Sorry, this game has so much lore. Oh my god, this game is just going for it. This game is making people care about the world of Donkey Kong. Holy god. I love this.
Yes, and it's building, it's not disregarding the past, but it's building something new.
Yeah, especially like
into something new.
Coming right after Nostalgia Country and then seeing this, it's like, this is a game that celebrates and reveres everything that came before, but is also telling a new story in this world. And I really don't want to make this comparison again because I feel bad, because I love Retro's games. I adore Returns and Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, people have been giving you a hard time for not being positive enough about them.
Yeah, and I only bring up this comparison because I always felt like there was this intellectual divide between how good those games were and what I was feeling from those games in certain areas. And I'm thinking specifically about two things, about two races or tribes or people that are introduced in Retro's games. The Oinks, Professor Chops' people, and those banana sprites that just pop up in the levels that you have to chase. And
you've got a lot of mileage out of the banana sprites, though.
Yeah, but the banana sprites, I always wanted to know more about them. We've got shrines.
Yeah, you're right. It's not in the game. It's just your own inferences.
Yeah, we've got shrines. We've got like tributes to them, but what are they? I know we never really got much in the way of Banana Bird lore in Donkey Kong Country 3 or Banana Fairy lore in Donkey Kong 64, except that the Banana Fairies guard the banana trees on Donkey Kong Island, and it's like, okay. But like the banana sprites, I mean, that's not even a given name from Retro. That's just what we call them to differentiate them from the fairies and the birds. And then the Oinks, Professor Chops is just dropped in Donkey Kong Country Returns, wasn't given a name at the time, Tutorial Pig. And I'm just like, who are you and why should I care? And yes, you can do way more in terms of dialogue in a 3D adventure than a 2D side-scroller. I get that. I do understand that. And Retro is also working with a hindrance because they didn't have the ability to have big, lavish instruction manuals like Rare did back in the 90s. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But like, by the end of Hilltop Layer, I am completely sold on the Fractones as part of the Donkey Kong series, as part of the DKU, in a way that I was never completely sold on the Oinks or the Banana Sprites. And it's
I think I am as well, and I didn't think I would be.
I didn't think I would be. I thought, like, I would share some of the annoyances of the Fractones that people were feeling pre-release. And in this one world, I'm excited. I am made to anticipate and look forward to learning more about the Fractones because I know there's going to be more to come. I just have to jump through that sinkhole.
Just gotta jump through the sinkhole.
By the way, the whole thing about jumping through sinkholes is mildly terrifying to me.
Yeah, well, it's boundary breaking. It's borderline boundary breaking, isn't it?
It's borderline boundary breaking, and it's also just... I never knew I had a phobia of holes until this game.
No comment.
Yeah, you're just like diving in, and you're like, where... I don't know if this is going to take me to the next layer. This could just result in my death. Like, what if this game just ends abruptly and it's just...
Well, if you fall off the plateau on which this level is set, you either die or are rescued by a balloon if you've got a balloon. By the way, great that you can use balloons to rescue yourself from falling. Great call.
To show I'm not...
if you go through the hole in the center of the level or wherever... That's the way to get to the next layer.
Yes.
It's interesting.
To show I am in favor of a lot of what Retro did, they're the ones who made it explicit that the balloons actually carry the Kongs back into a level. Until that point...
Yes, I like that.
Until that point, there was no given rationale for why balloons were lives. So that is one area where Retro was like, yeah, we can fill in the gaps here and we can add to the context and the lore. So
absolutely.
But yeah, the sinkholes, they've got this kind of like glowing energy pulsating out of them or into them. And it is just this like this the only safe way to travel. I mean, I guess Cranky's using a shovel, so whatever, but yeah, it is mildly terrifying. Every time it's time for me to go through a sinkhole, I have to steel myself. I have to build up the fortitude to do it because I'm just thinking...
What are you like on a log flume?
Oh, I love a log flume, Matt, because I know what a log flume is supposed to do. Like, I'm not afraid because...
trying to calibrate what level of falling through a thing that you're comfortable with.
Log flume is basically...
It's about your level.
Yeah, it's about my level. Log flume or a roller coaster. I'm fine with that. It's the whole... I'm diving through
What about one of those roller coasters that goes sort of down vertically into a sort of hole?
I like those. I like those. The only time I have a problem with a roller coaster is if it goes backwards. Because I can't see where I'm headed.
Right. I've always been confused about people that close their eyes on roller coasters. Why are you doing that? You can't see where you're going. Surely that's more terrifying.
And I do like the whole, like, going from one layer to another, like, the whole sequence of Donkey Kong and Pauline effectively skydiving without a parachute. And, like, I think that's fun, and it's beautiful the way this game syncs up the controller vibrations with
By the way, don't you think it's quite fun the way that when you stand close to an edge, Donkey Kong starts to quiver, terrified at the height? It's funny that in the game where you can't take any fall damage, Donkey Kong is still afraid of heights.
I would be too, even if I couldn't take fall damage, just because I don't know necessarily what awaits me down below. But yeah, I like that, like, when you're falling down the sinkhole, you have the sensation of falling and it's communicated to you through the controller rumble, the vibration. It's beyond what I'm able to conceive of. Like, I don't know how they're able to calibrate that. Oh yeah, this is what it would feel like falling via your Nintendo Switch controller.
Yeah, they've got some fine-tuned rumbling shenanigans going on.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely... We've come a long way from the Rumble Pack, my friend. I didn't even use the Rumble Pack for most of the time playing the N64.
I got a Rumble Pack many years after the end of the N64 generation, just out of curiosity. But
I was like, oh, this is annoying, actually. And now,
it's cumbersome, isn't it?
Yeah. And now it's just part of life, part of gaming. But yeah, the Hilltop Layer, that brings us to the end of it. Now, just like the Hilltop Layer had less in the way of fossils and collectibles, we have slightly less calls this time around.
We've got fewer than 5 calls.
We've got fewer than 5 calls. 5 is my threshold. In this case, we only got 3 calls for this episode.
We couldn't get 5 people to call in about the Hilltop Layer.
No. So...
What is wrong with you people?
Apparently they don't appreciate Hilltop Layer on the level that we do, Matt.
Well, thank you for everyone who has called. Let's hear what they've got to say.
Let me just say, you can call the DK Vine hotline at 1-202-630-VINE. That is 8463. And leave a message. We are taking calls, spoiler-free calls beyond the episodes we are doing. So, yeah, let us know. Just checking in with the live stream really quick. We got some commentary about the Fractones I would like to read, if that's okay with you, Matt.
Go on.
Okay. March Rose says, like some others, I was not the biggest fan of the Fractones at first. I would have rathered other Kongs be the shopkeepers, etc. But as I played the game, I really grew to love them. Fizztap, in reference to me referencing you say it, Matt.
Stonehenge.
Stonehenge?
I'm doing a Spinal Tap reference. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I tapped out with my Genesis references. But Fizztap says Tonehenge, which...
That's brilliant. Why didn't we say that?
Why didn't we say that? Because...
What's wrong with us?
We are problematic individuals.
Oh, no, not problematic. That's the worst kind of individual you can be.
DK Vine staffer Gem, i.e. Gibbon, says, turn on podcast recording, Hyle in middle of talking about how poo is the theme of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gem really has a problem coming into our shenanigans at the most inopportune time. If you had tuned in earlier, the context would have been available to you, and you would have known why it was an essential component of Hilltop Layer.
It's no better than what it sounds like, Jem.
Okay, well.
In fact, in many ways, it's worse.
But you should feel fine with this because I am on record as despising pooping. I'm not in favor of it. I'm not celebrating mounds and mounds.
I think broadly I am in favor of it. I think it would be a difficult life not to do it.
I think if there was a just God, they wouldn't have burdened us with the need to poop. That's where I'm at on the matter. But maybe some of our callers.
If there's any takeaway from this episode, let it be that.
Maybe some of our callers can weigh in on these.
I hope so. Next week for the conversation, maybe consider this. We will be taking calls on Sublayer 300, but also calls on poo. Yeah. It's a weighty theological topic we really need to get figured out before we get to the poo layer of the game. Oh, spoilers. So anyway, let's go ahead and play our first caller.
Hi, this is Claire again. I didn't prepare anything for my call, but I just wanted to call in for the Hilltop Layer and talk about some things in Donkey Kong Bananza that I didn't think that I'd dislike, but I didn't expect that I'd like as much as I did. And one of those main things being the Fractones. I love the Fractones. And I know, myself and, some others thought that they'd just be, boring, generic NPCs that were just, there, where it could have been a cooler character. But no, I actually really like them in their own right. I think they're adorable. I think they're really funny. I always find characters that rhyme to be really charming. And I did something... The Fractones are, weird and alien enough to be interesting despite the fact that a lot of them look the same. I mean, of course, they have, all kinds of, variations of, sizes and, material, which is really cool, and sometimes used for puzzles, which is also really interesting. I think it's funny how they just don't mind how you just completely obliterate them and then they just come back. I think it's really funny. But yeah, I'm a big Fractone fan. I remember at one point I made my like display name on like Twitter or something, just like #1 Fractone fan. I think right now it's set to Exploratone. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Fractones. My favorite Fractone is Exploratone, I guess, because I love reading Exploratone's, like, all their entries on their journey. It's very cool. But yeah, big fan of the Fractones. Bye.
Well, thank you for the call, Claire. I think this is going to become more widespread and more uniform amongst a large part of the fandom by the time, like, Bonanza really settles and becomes just a part of the fabric of Donkey Kong canon. I think the Fractones will be revered. To
the point where we'll be in the hype cycle for the next Donkey Kong game, and people will be losing their minds going, do you think the Fractones are going to be in the next Donkey Kong game?
Yeah, there's going to be...
The Fractones are in it.
There's going to be people upset that the Fractones aren't in, like, the next Donkey Kong Country game or whatever. Like, how dare they exclude the Fractones? There's going to be all those people who are like, oh, they put the Fractones in Mario Kart. We want a Fractone character in Mario Kart. There's going to be the inevitable Smash cycle where people are going to be like, yeah, let's get Smash-a-Tone in Super Smash Brothers. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you, Claire. But yeah, it's really fun as a Donkey Kong fan to care about new things again, because we've been in this
novel for me.
Yeah, we've been in this holding pattern for effectively 11 years where we haven't had new things in relation to Donkey Kong.
I don't understand it. I don't know what these feelings are.
And I've always maintained, I don't dislike new things. Whenever we talk about wanting this characters and the heritage of the series to be celebrated, it's not that we just want to keep replaying the greatest hits like a Genesis tribute band. It's that we want the old and new together so that the old can rub off on the new and make us care about something else. And I think Bonanza's striking that balance, because I am falling in love with the new. And I feel like the same way I felt in 1996 when I was introduced to Banana Birds. And initially I was like, that's weird. That's kind of dumb. But then the more I got familiar with it...
And now the Banana Birds are in Smash.
That's the Queen Banana Bird, my actually main character in Smash.
Yeah, same. It's just most well balanced, I think.
Yeah, I'll absolutely, especially the way she takes up the entire screen.
Some people say that's cumbersome and unwieldy.
Yeah, but I don't have to do much. I just press a button and she wins. Thank you for the call, Claire. Let's play our second caller.
Hello, Matt. Hello, Hyle. This is Cornah calling in for the Hilltop Layer Kongversation. And I think the Hilltop Layer is most interesting in the way that it sort of sets up precedents for things that will be happening later on. But firstly, I think it's kind of funny that the first thing you do when you talk to a Fractone, which is the first time that we see them in the game, Pauline's like, oh, do you get turned to a rock by Voidco like me? I'm like, no, Fractones have always been this way. They've always been like this. Which I thought was funny in kind of a meta sense, because a lot of speculation around this game, obviously because we knew about the Odd Rock Pauline connection, where like have Fractones also been turned into Voidco people, or have they been rendered that way from animals? We saw Fractones that kind of looked like animals, but that just sort of gets to that immediately. I don't think that was intentional, but it was pretty funny just given the context we were in. And I think the two precedents that the Hilltop Layer sets are, number one, that there are going to be Fractones, and that Fractones are going to be sort of icons of the underground world, and they're going to be in layers where there aren't another like animal species. I do like the Fractones. I think they're fittingly bizarre. They, use only plural pronouns. They might be some sort of like collective organism. They don't have arms. They can like generate from anything. And they also, of course, deal with the whole materials aspect of the game, because they can be any material you want. I do think they are maybe a little bit overused. It seems like they didn't want to create a new sort of animal species unless they were very important in some way, kind of like the salvager monkeys. And I think that was maybe a little bit overzealous. We could have like other underground species, even if they aren't like tied into something really important. But I do get from sort of purity of game design perspective. Speaking of game design, I know that's not your focus, Hal, but I really do like it. the Hilltop layer also reveals some of the structure of Bananza, and that there are going to be like bigger layers, like the Lagoon layer that's going to have like 3 different fossils and a lot more bananas to collect. Whereas the Hilltop layer is one of a few layers where it's a little bit smaller. There's one type of fossil and there's much fewer bananas overall. And I think that's an interesting way to have like paced it out. I think it's a lot more gradual than like Mario Odyssey, where it's like you have full kingdoms and then you have basically just little boss arenas that might have some challenges sprinkled in afterwards. And as I was playing the game, I was constantly thinking like, okay, when are we due for a smaller layer? When are we going to get a bigger layer? And how that affected the pacing, which I thought it was good to introduce that concept early, since it's something that comes up throughout the game. That's something that I'm thinking of for playing it. Thank you for taking the call.
Oh, well, thank you for the call. I agree.
Yeah, well, we touched on a lot of the things you bring up, especially the stuff about the developers playing on our expectations.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis Odd Rock and Pauline and stuff. So, yeah.
What I appreciate about the Fractones is I think they're more interesting than they would be if they were like Swanky Kong as a rock. Like, I enjoy getting to know this new civilization and this.
Yeah, so you're not spoiled or anything yet, but at this point, your theory is not that these are all rockified Kongs.
Well, I don't think it's Swanky Kong. I don't think Quiztone is Swanky Kong. That's all I'll say on the matter. But
okay.
Just a banana in my pocket is with us in the live stream. It says Fractones are the new Brothers Bear, but this time they're all best. I guess they would have to be if they use like we pronouns and didn't refer to anybody in the singular. I guess there would be no best. It would just which Fractone is best? Well, they all have to be. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that collectivism. I enjoy that teamwork.
Everyone's a winner.
Yeah, everyone's the winner. Maybe we've been doing it wrong, Matt. Maybe we've been pitting characters against each other when in fact it is just their unification that makes the Donkey Kong series so special.
I do not accept the idea that we've been doing it wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
Simply don't accept it.
I mean, I've already like had to come to terms with all the things I have done wrong on DK Vine, but it would be pretty bad if the entire foundation of DK Vine was a lie.
I think we're too far gone.
Yeah. Once you hit 25 years, it's just like, well, I really can't regret a quarter century, can I?
Well,
I guess you can, but yeah, it doesn't
can,
really. It rarely
leads. If you can
leads.
choose not to, that's probably better.
Yeah, regretting 1/4 of somebody's lifespan, if they're lucky, generally doesn't lead to anywhere positive. But yes, thank you for the call. All right, one more call, Matt, and then we will give our final thoughts on the Hilltop Layer. And when I say we, I'm referring to you and I, Matt. I'm not referring to the collective.
Us as a collective.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Hyle, and our special guest, Matt. This is Traveler of the Stars, everyone's maybe least favorite caller, I don't know. Calling about the Hilltop Layer in Bananza. Let's get into it. After meeting Voidco for the first time officially, you are whisked away into the second layer, full layer. And when I got here, I first thought, oh, okay, this is like a smaller layer or kind of world akin to the Cloud Kingdom or Ruined Kingdom in Odyssey. In Ohio, you haven't done the Ruined Kingdom. Get on that. But no, the Hilltop Layer actually had more than those kingdoms. And I know those were kind of more like boss arenas. I know, maybe more so for the Ruined Kingdom that could have been expanded more than the Cloud Kingdom. But I know some people are like, oh, I wish those were bigger. I didn't really mind because clearly they were just oh, cool themed boss arenas, but whatever. But no, Hilltop Layer is a lot more to it than I would expect when I first got there. It is interesting how it's kind of like a cooldown layer, and it's interesting that it's the second full layer in the game. I mean, I guess there was the intro and there was the there's Lagoon Layer, but I'm not complaining. It's just interesting the ordering they did here. Again, there's not so much to say about this, but I do want to talk about the Fractones because, Hyle, I know some on staff, you were actually open-minded about the Fractones, and I think you're going to kind of win out in the end because I think, when you see the Fractones, you're like, oh, that's interesting, and obviously there's the rare blink, googly eyes, but I think, at the very, very bottom of before you go into the next layer, there is the first kind of lore, the backstory of the Fractones, and spoiler alert, it says volume 1, so there's obviously going to be more. The game does a really good job, giving a lot of personality to where effectively, little rocks with, googly eyes. They do a really good job of that. So, don't judge a book by its cover, everyone. They're pretty cool, I think. Yeah, the music is obviously really good on this layer. Again, it's kind of a chill layer. This is the first appearance of a kind of a reference bonus stage with the Donkey Kong Country thing. I'm sure you were geeking out about that, Hyle. Got the treehouse, treasure memories, and all that. So yeah, I don't have much to say, but I like the Fractones. And also, Hyle, I do like kind of the layer conversation of each episode. I am happy though that there's going to be more episodes, but. Yeah, take your time. I know we've been waiting a while for this, so don't worry about it. And keep up the great, sexy work. Okay, goodbye.
Thank you for the call, Matt.
Hello, yes?
Do you find the work we did on this episode sexy?
I'm nursing a semi.
In that
what do you think,
to...
Hyle? Is Traveler of the Stars your favorite caller or not?
I don't take sides in calls. I love all my calls equally, like a good parent would.
Good and correct.
Yes.
Everyone loves the Fractones.
We only got 3 calls, and that's a pretty small sample size. But it seems like everybody's coming around on the Fractones. I don't know. It's good to see, because I thought I would have to be here defending the Fractones from a horde of angry comments and criticisms. But even the design, seeing it in motion and seeing how they regenerate and how they can take on all these shapes and forms, and I think it works. I think it's a fun way to integrate characters with the game's physics and mechanics. And it's just the kind of brilliant extra bit of logic that you would expect from Nintendo EPD, but also just marrying it with the notion of character and world building that I know Odyssey wasn't afraid to go there, but there's a reason Odyssey is a go-to example of Nintendo actually incorporating a lot of rare way of doing things into their own philosophy. And Bonanza, there's a reason Odyssey feels like a warm-up to Bonanza at this point. I'm not besmirching the quality of Odyssey in comparison to Bonanza, but it feels like it was a great trial run to do an effective Donkey Kong game.
Absolutely. Odyssey was a trial run for a Donkey Kong game. I agree.
I like how I tried to carefully nuance what I was saying so it wouldn't be taken out of context, and you just ran with what most people will hear.
Well, I like to take everything you say in bad faith. It's my favorite thing to do.
I appreciate it, Matt. The YouTube comments do it for you. You don't need to do it, but it's good. It's good all the same.
It's a hobby.
I'm avoiding reading all comments because I don't want spoilers. So I'm glad that you're able to interject some of that into my life now.
I'm like a human YouTube commenter.
Yeah. That's on your business card, actually, when you whip those out.
Sure is.
Yeah. So I know Hilltop Layer is going to be a world that a lot of people sleep on, even if they don't purchase the getaway. But it's shorter. It doesn't have as much stuff. It's got a lot of that empty space in the middle, designed for you to get the hang of turf surfing and whatnot. It's only the one sub-layer. There's no layers beneath it. And it doesn't even have a boss fight. But as Traveler of the Stars said, that's kind of what I like about it. I love the fact that we had a breather world. I love the fact that we had a world to just get comfortable with Donkey Kong Bonanza and also really soak in what was happening in the underground world beyond just the layer full of Kongs and monkeys. Like, this is the layer where, as much as I loved Lagoon Layer, as much as I loved Ingot Isle, this is where I stopped being skeptical. Any lingering suspicions, any pins and needles I was on about how well Nintendo was going to do a Donkey Kong game, I think it was put to bed here. I think I finally got on board that the game was telling a story, multiple stories in fact, and that there was a commitment to doing it right, and that it was being done with tact and respect towards Donkey Kong's identity. I found that the core gameplay was a lot more engaging than I thought it would be when the game was first pitched to us. It was in the Hilltop Layer where I really got comfortable with destroying, with turf surfing, and especially chunk jumping, to the point where now I want every game to utilize chunk jumping in the Donkey Kong series. I don't care what it is. If it's Donkey Kong Country Barrel Maze 2, I want be able to chunk jump that barrel. But yeah, this is where Bonanza really steps back and lets you get comfortable with the game. And that was partly the developer's intention. They wanted you to get familiar with some of the mechanics here, as they confirmed in that developer interview on Nintendo.com. But yeah, like everything you've learned up until this point really does become second nature here. And this is probably the world I would most want to visit, I would say, or at least spend any significant time in. At the very
it's a bit
least,
laid back, isn't it?
It's laid back,
cool
and it's not.
Place.
It's not that terrifying, all things considered.
Talking rocks are quite terrifying, I would argue, but in comparison to a lot of other things.
Yes, the talking rocks are especially terrifying when you throw dirt at them or more fractonium at them and create this body horror monstrosity straight out of a Cronenberg movie. Yeah, there's that, and that freaks me out. I'll stay away from that. And also, another thing that freaks me out that actually makes Hilltop Layer advantageous is there are the least amount of holes you have to jump in. There are no holes to reach the lower sublayers directly beneath it. There's just the one big sinkhole. And if I'm not going any deeper than Hilltop Layer, I don't need to jump through that sinkhole. I can just take my elevator back up. So you know what? I find holes scary, Matt. I think that's the takeaway of this episode. Holes terrifying. I didn't grow up with that Shia LaBeouf movie. You know what I'm talking? You know, the one with the holes? I didn't grow up with that. So
Transformers,
right. So I don't know what holes actually are.
What are holes?
Probably also explain why pooping terrifies me.
This has been a File 2 production.
Rico.
Hey, this is me chiming in after doing the edit for this episode, and I am currently suffering from a horrendous bout of COVID, and I just realized that we were referring to the element, the material Neptunite as Neptunium throughout this episode, and of course, that is incorrect. As incorrect as calling a banandium gem a banana or a golden banana. So I am ashamed, and I feel like we have to record the whole thing over again. So let's take it from the top.